use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. We came for one, man, forget my peace. You take the west, I'll take on the east. I'ma put him in the cage, never let out the. Yeah, I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys. Man, so tough, but man's keep walking. Yeah, just too sharp with the prize. Right guys, let it tell me I'm awesome. Yeah, hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch me, please use caution. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
Stugotz and Greg Cody know this better than most. This show is a bit of a bucking bronco. For example, Chris Cody forgot to just turn my microphone on.
That's debatable.
Free agency, Dan.
And, well, but hold on. So, yes, it is a bucking bronco, but I often feel like the UNLV football coach whose video I cannot play anymore in good conscience because it's not a fun cushion. It is a concussion, and he got hit in the head, and he was concussed. I right now am between the bucking bronco months of Greg Cody's a star in Vegas, Hee-Haw 3 rules, and the playoffs that are coming, Heat and Panthers. Oh, my God. A storm is coming, and we are going to have to ride this out over the next few months. It's going to be unpleasant. Mike is going to be really emotional all over the place. He hates Terry Rozier in a way that's not reasonable. But today, what I have is something I did not have during yesterday's show. During yesterday's show, I left the studio, and as soon as I left, football pinged into my life in a way that I hadn't noticed just how gone it had been. The money's over here. This guy's over there.
You can tamper. I mean,
it was unbelievable. So I'm going to release the bull and hope we don't get concussed here. That was crazy yesterday, and I didn't see it coming.
Dan, hate is a strong word.
Not strong enough.
I don't want to talk about Terry Rozier. We're going to talk about
makes two of us.
We're going to talk about
you brought him up.
The Panthers in a second, just because the only reason I brought him up is because Mike's been off for 3 days. He comes in here like a bucking bronco. He has opinions on everything, like the Minnesota Wild.
I worked for 8 hours on Sunday. It's just one day.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a fine.
But
how much Minnesota Wild talk did I miss?
You missed it all.
Really? You saved it?
Yeah, we saved it.
Oh, my
Saved
God.
it for you.
Yep.
John Hines.
Huh?
Oh, my God, pal.
57.
Rule 84-2.
Uh-huh.
I'll get back to that in a second. But the
Are you sure?
That's all he has. I mean.
No, it's not all he has. Trust me, it is not all he has. He when he was working 8 hours with Adnan and Sampson and Ben Lyons on Sunday to produce an uncommon event for us, because we don't usually do that around the movies. He was forcing into the show at every turn and has been talking nonstop for 3 days about a rule he did not know and the risk that the Minnesota Wild took, 8 points down by pulling their goalie and risking the loss of a point in overtime in a rule that Mike did not know. And the most flabbergasting thing to Mike in all of sports is him not knowing something.
Right on the head. But more on that later.
Yeah.
Proceed with setting the show
Thank
up.
you. Thank you. Well,
I know what you're trying to do. Set the show up. It's all right.
that's all
I'll
I'm
lay
trying
out.
to do.
Yeah.
All I'm trying to do is tell you that football went crazy yesterday.
We need to respect you trying to set the show up. Got to lay out for the host.
The addiction arrived again yesterday. You guys had missed it. You were in withdrawal. You didn't know how strong the withdrawal was.
We don't have to explore my curiosities whatsoever just because I wasn't here yesterday.
So when I look up yesterday and I'm like, what do you mean Jacobs is moving? I like him. He's a running back. He's great. And I would want him if I was in that league. There are 5 I don't think are disposable. He's one of them. Wait, he's going to Green Bay. They have Aaron Jones. Why would they do that? Aaron Jones is cut. I would want Aaron Jones. Why is Aaron Jones not there? He's a little bit older, but he's cheaper. And now somebody spent money on a running back. And that was one of the 50 interesting things yesterday.
You said Aaron Jones was cut, Dan? Well, now he's not. Aaron Jones, Vikings, 1-year deal.
He's still cut. He's still cut. He goes there.
Not anymore.
He's got a team now.
Yeah, hold on
Okay.
a second. Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Billy. I will give you a stat of the day right now.
Oh, jeez.
It's pretty good because I did not have this a couple of years ago.
Start of the day, start of the day, it is your start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day, it is your start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is the start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is the start of the day.
Today's stat of the day is brought to you by Venmo and PayPal.
Go back 2 years in your mind, erase all of the last 2 years, and think of what you thought of Russell Wilson, who just sold the most expensive, or has put on sale, the most expensive house in the history of Denver. A 4-bedroom house worth $25 million. Four bedrooms, 12 baths, indoor pool, movie theater, yoga.
Huh.
4 beds and 12 baths. There's something off there. I don't like that.
But hold on. We'll get
needs
back to
12
that if you want, but this is not the part of the stat of the day that I'm giving.
Yoga studio, huh?
He's got a yoga studio. He's got it. It seems like a lovely home. Yesterday's contract movement was such that Sam Darnold will now be paid 10 times more by the Vikings than Russell Wilson will be paid by the Steelers to play football next year.
And Sam doesn't have to play.
A 1-year, $10 million deal for Darnold. Russell Wilson's going to get $1.2 million from the Steelers. That's going to be the bargain in the sport, right? Even if he's mediocre.
Yes. Even if he throws nothing but interceptions, it'll still be
No. You could. That was your.
Yeah.
No, if he
Just
throws
all interceptions?
If he throws
Right.
no, if he throws
That's a
nothing,
waste
it's
of
not
$10
a
million.
bargain. If he throws nothing but interceptions,
Well, how many interceptions?
Based on NFL salaries? Are you kidding me? The former Dolphin guard just signed Robert Hunt signed a $100 million contract.
Guards are back.
Crazy.
I mean,
I want to just note for the audience that C.J. Stroud has a base salary of $900,000.
yep.
it's so important.
What is Brock Purdy's?
You guys realize the stat he just gave you, though, right? It's like we've gotten to the point, if you got the money right there, you're good. You're totally good. And now the Dolphins lose all their players because they didn't win in the window. You had to win in the window when you had the quarterback at value. And you got Tyreek Hill for that, and you got Chubb, and you got a bunch of defensive pieces. And now this part I don't get. Like, if I'm a Dolphin fan, I'm pissed here. I really am. I'm angry about this because there was a lot that had to be endured so that the Dolphins could have the draft pick that they would get right with Christian Wilkins. Get it right in every way. Like that guy, we knew he was going to be great. He's great. He got his other defensive tackle paid as well because you can't pay everyone around here. Now he goes to the Raiders, $110 million, $86 million guaranteed. And that's just no matter what you're doing for win now, you cannot justify that decision to me when a maximum professional like that is groomed by you from rebuilding. You got it right, and you have to sell it away when that's an important defensive piece. And he did everything right, including serve you the last year with honor, even though you were insulting him on contract and he risked getting hurt. Like a model professional, Greg, and it pissed me off that they lost him.
Right. They should have tried harder to sign him a year earlier. You're right. But the one thing I would quibble with is that the idea the Dolphins' window is closing. If Tua continues to improve and becomes as good as they think, then the window is open.
It has to be at value, Greg. To me, what Mike said.
Well, the Chiefs don't have Mahomes at value anymore.
They
Dan.
still do.
Winning.
Stugotz, he's still cheap now. Stugotz, he's cheap now. Don't say I understand that before understanding it. They had Mahomes at one good contract, and now they've got him at another contract that represents value.
Yeah,
for
because the cap keeps going up, and the cap is projected to go up quite a bit, which is why some of these running back contracts that you see, the spin on it is Tony Pollard at $8 million against the cap now will kind of feel like $4 million against the cap 3 years from now. I think Chris Greer has earned some credibility and patience here. They just cleared $20 million in reworking Jalen Ramsey's deal while they haven't signed anybody yet, and the group chats were all freaking out when Wilkins left. That meant you had to sign Van Ginkel, and Van Ginkel's going to Minnesota with Sam Darnold and Aaron Jones. I think be patient. You don't know. Maybe they add a corner, move Ramsey to safety. They should add a pass rusher because that was a huge issue last year, and it should be noted you can still end up paying the quarterback like Kansas City has, and maintain key pieces. They just re-signed Chris Jones.
That's all I'm saying, Dan. You could still pay your quarterback the big contract and still put together a roster that could win a Super Bowl. That's all I'm saying.
Talking about the cap hit with Patrick Mahomes and how they won in the window. Last year's cap hit was $37 million. This year's cap hit is $58 million for Patrick Mahomes. So you talk about winning in the window, $20 million now that they've re-signed Chris Jones, but there's pieces that are missing on that team, and they still won a Super Bowl.
This is the part, okay? Like this part's super interesting because we'll get lost in the minutia and the frenzy of happiness today, okay? But the model to follow now, After the Patriot Way, 10-part documentary on Apple, because that story's done. No one wants to play for the Patriots anymore. Like, you realize that just happened where they were talking about Patriots wanted Mike Evans. No, thank you. I don't want to go there. Baker Mayfield. No, thank you. I don't want to go there. Both of them choosing the team that Tom Brady brought with him to Tampa, the city, and the Patriots fall apart. And all we're talking about right now is money, and how do you spend the money. And the model in that sport is Kansas City. You lose Tyreek Hill. Somebody else gets good, but you're good because you've got quarterback, and you've got quarterback at value. And now everybody knows it, and everything's built around him. Look, man, Mahomes wants in this ownership game, too, with the Royals and everything he's doing. He wants to compete. He's learning now what all of the former quarterback broadcasters out there, like the Aikmans and the Mannings and the Bradys, Mahomes is in ownership now. He has learned at the knee of all these people. He's a two-time champion. He can build that for a decade, working in partnership with his franchise the way Brady did. Yeah, you can restructure me here. You can do this here. I'm making enough money. We're all winning here, and I don't want to go anywhere else because I got an A-plus coach, but they're going to have to fix those facilities, and they're going to have to fix that ownership because Mahomes isn't going to stay quiet on where that power is because he knows he's got it. He flexed on the league after Kaepernick, and the knee, like they bent. Goodell bent when he's got real power now.
And now racism's over.
That's right. He solved that, too. You can't put it. What's
And
that
racism.
under the salary cap? What's that worth? Solved racism. They can take it out of the end zones. Yesterday, what was the most interesting parts of this, Stugots? Because I haven't seen this part. Billy, you saw this. You saw the flicker, and it's always good when the old flame comes back to the old Warhorse champion. God bless football. Crushed it at the Super Bowl.
I haven't felt like this since Joe Mauer made it into the Hall of Fame.
I mean, look, I saw the crust fall off of Stugotz this morning, and he roared to life and shocked me with it because it was like an old spark in the bedroom. He's like, Dan, I've got winners and losers from yesterday.
Oh, do I? Top 5 winners, top 5 losers.
Wow.
I have to start there. I'm sorry it took me so long.
We still have the wild to get to.
Oh, yeah.
Mike, when are you going to shut up about it? Like, what do I need
We've
to
never seen it before. We all learned that was a rule. You pull the goalie, you run the risk of losing the point that you would get if you lost in overtime. Ballsiest thing I've ever seen.
That is crazy. 84 point what?
Rule dash 84.2.
Good.
See, he's a hero now because it worked, but it was a dumb decision by him. Cote, this will not become a trend.
They're 8 points.
Don't do
They're
that.
8 points down. What Mike's point is, you're just playing.
If you need the two,
you're just having fun with mathematics. Like, yeah, I know the odds aren't good, but I need to make up 8 points, and it's going to be hard to make up 8 points no matter how much we gamble.
To your point earlier in the show, it is not every day you can get one past old Mike Ryan.
That's right.
And John Hines of the Minnesota Wild, he alerted me to this rule that you could totally expose and gain advantage. It is ballsy, though. I mean, there's no goalie there. But 4-on-3 is a much bigger advantage than your conventional 6-on-5.
Yeah.
Chris Cody, are you ready? Do you have sound effects for? I mean, the old giant is roaring back to life. It's like seeing Godzilla win an Oscar. Like I couldn't believe what rose up this morning from the sea. Winners and losers from yesterday. Greg Cody, you write for the Miami Herald, have for many years, the football column. Did you write off of all of the transactions yesterday? Because the Dolphins lost big yesterday in the frenzy if you're doing the first day of free agency. The first day of free agency shouldn't matter, but all of a sudden we're doing a lot of accounting. One of the fascinating things about what this football transaction has become is the idea that all of us are now math experts on the salary cap because we're all doing finances with what the transactions are because you cannot convince me that Jacobs is worth more than Jones at those contracts, but I'm not the one who's professional enough to know what those value assignments are. Like, I can't do it. I don't know how to tell you. Like, I love Jacobs. We're all watching the disposable running back. I love watching Jacobs run, but Aaron Jones behind that offensive line made Jordan Love look pretty special. I'd value that.
Certainly you would value that, but I think what you're looking at is you're looking at the situation where a team has the quarterback, Jordan Love, on a rookie contract. So any running back's going to kind of look good in that situation.
Well, LaFleur has proven throughout his time
He's
in the
great.
NFL that
Yes.
he can design a run game with the
Yes.
best of them. The
Right.
chokehold that this sport has on America is something to behold, because we thought it had plateaued a couple of years ago. The sport was actually at an inflection point, and now it's bigger than ever. Globally, it is also getting bigger. You have really smart leadership within the NFL that realizes their footprint is growing. And look at this. On a day where 6 teams are alive for the President's Trophy in the NHL, what are we talking about? Austin Ekeler to the Commanders.
By the way, this is the time of year in the NFL when even casual fans are acutely aware that their team was $21 million under the cap yesterday, and now they're $4.5 million with play money, with over the cap. It's crazy.
But symbolically, what just happened there felt really cold to me. Where old-timey Greg Cody, football writer from the past, comes
From
in
the past.
complaining about the money.
He's still doing it.
And
I
no,
mean.
but look at what just happened there. Mike snuck in some, and it might not be news to everyone listening to this, but just snuck in. Wait a minute, what? Austin Ekeler to the Commanders, and it hurt me on behalf of Billy and Stugotz. They made Austin Ekeler a star. He was a bigger media star than
Well, he
was.
made himself
I
a
don't
star,
know about
right?
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think fantasy football might
I
have
think
helped.
he
good
did.
fan
Did a
of
lot
his
of work
part.
before we met him, you know.
Yeah.
But you guys
It's an
had
equal part.
Were you
You guys
guys
carried him over the hump.
were you heartbroken for
We drove
him?
him into the ground, if anything.
He did have a bad year by his standards.
Yeah,
He did, yeah.
Bad contract.
Well, that's not a great contract for him. 2 years for the Commanders. None of us would want to do that.
No.
Put it on the poll, please, at LeBatard Show. Do you want to carry the football for 2 years for the Commanders? He's been death sentenced.
I'd take $11 million to tote the rock for the
No, you would
Commanders.
not.
I have a
yes,
theory.
I would. $11 million.
20 carries a game, Stugotz? Wait a minute.
I would pay to see
Wait a
that.
minute. Wait a minute. Let's hold on.
He's not saying he'd survive.
Right.
Let's examine this part for just a second. You think you take a season worth of running back hits where you have to play the position. You can't just fall on the ball each time.
It could last a game. He could get hurt immediately,
Right.
and
would.
still get paid.
I would
guaranteed
fake an
money.
injury. Yeah.
You think you're going to get the full guaranteed money faking an injury.
It's not 1 year, it's 2 years running the football for $11 million.
Okay, did you hurt for him yesterday? Were you heartbroken for him as your friend? As a friend, he's become a friend of your show.
No, I wasn't heartbroken. I was surprised that he went to Washington based on some of the things he told me and Billy leading up to free agency, but he got $11 million on a 2-year deal. He has told us before he likes to keep the contracts, at least moving forward. He wants to keep the contracts in terms of years. He wants to keep them short because he's not certain when he wants to retire. He's not certain what he wants to do in his post-football career life.
He had bad luck in terms of he had his worst career season last year. He was derailed by injuries. Even when he came back, he wasn't, great because you could tell that the injuries were still there. And there was a lot of free agent running backs. So, I think he took what he could get. I have a theory, though, that I wasn't going to do on air, but we're here, so I'll do it here amongst friends. Who's a part owner of the Washington Commanders now?
Who?
Magic Johnson. Yeah, and Austin Ekeler has always been setting himself up for life after football.
For business.
Making business connections, kind of networking with people. That's not a bad contact to have.
Okay, so you are right now. That sounded like a dookie bomb. That sounded.
I would never. I said this is not for air. For the record, not for air.
He dropped the dookie.
Apparently it was for air.
Well, no, just bleep all of that out in
You
post.
said it on air, though.
I'm
do
just
that,
talking
sorry.
amongst
Yeah, can't do that.
friends.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So he's cozying up to Magic, which I didn't even think about that, but I
didn't-
think you're right.
I didn't
Right.
say he's cozying up. I'm just saying, he's a man who is focused on business also, and it's not a bad person to have in your corner.
Okay, so can we explore this part of it for a second? Because Austin Ekeler, first time he came on our radar, I'm going to say 2 or 3 years ago, had some of the same savvy back then that Kelsey had, where he realized pretty quickly, I'm younger, I have a space here of people that will follow me if I make myself interesting on the internet. And Ekeler has been business interested. Look at what we're talking about yesterday and the grinding at that particular position. You got about 7 years to earn, kid. And you're going to be really lucky if you get those 7 years because your body's going to break, even though Stugotz thinks he can do it for a season for $11 million a year.
2 seasons.
2 seasons.
For $5.5 million a
Okay,
year.
so Ekeler, I've called him a scatback, even though he's not, but I think of him as smaller, even though I know how muscular he is. That game does savage things to the body, and you've got a very short period of time to make the money. Ekeler saw what Iguodala has seen and what a lot of these guys saw where, if I'm most relevant as a media person if I'm in the game. Because as soon as I get out of the game, man, there are a lot of people competing in that space. And now the marketplace dictates what all your worth is. But if I can make myself a media person, man, that's what Ryan Clark did. I think he interned with Howard Stern and ESPN while he was a Steeler. Like, they
interning very loose.
Right.
He wasn't exactly living in like the intern quarters at Bristol, Connecticut.
I thought Antonio Pierce interned for
Okay,
Howard
Antonio,
Stern.
that's right. So forgive me. Antonio Pierce also.
Ryan Clark wasn't making coffee runs.
But
Yeah.
no, he was at ESPN. I think he just conflated two different things.
They both did the same sort of thing. They were still playing football and working at ESPN because they realized, like Draymond Green, there's a bridge to more giant things as spokesman. But I don't want to delay anymore. Is 3.5 minutes enough time, Stugots? Because it doesn't feel like you haven't brought one of these in a while. Do I need to save this for a segment? Because we got plenty of football to talk about.
You should probably save it for a segment. That's fine. Yeah.
All right, then we can get into the Minnesota Wild.
Oh, nice.
And exactly
Little
how
puck.
that might have turned their season.
Wow.
If I'm a free agent upcoming, if I'm Sam Reinhart, I say, wait a second, what they got cooking up there in Minnesota?
All right, let's do this because we're about to have a national story on our hands, all right? Stugots, I don't want to underplay this. I know our audience doesn't want Panthers hockey talk, but it's coming here for an extended run because the Panthers are in position to have President's Cup to be the best team in the league.
You
at
don't
the end
want
of the
that.
season.
Yeah, you
President's
don't want
Trophy.
it. I would
You don't want
avoid
the
it.
fighting
Yeah.
side,
Cursed.
yeah.
It's
It is
cursed.
cursed,
Although
yeah.
they are playing a style right now that is more conducive to playoff success. They are co-favorites for the Stanley Cup along with Edmonton, who the Florida Panthers have beaten along the way. Huge potential Stanley Cup Finals preview tonight
I don't think
in Dallas.
I don't think you can get Billy and Tony interested.
What are you talking about? I'm a credentialed covering hockey member of the journalism community.
That's Roy. That's not you.
I was at the Stanley Cup final last year, tweeting right alongside Roy. Some people said Roy stole my tweets. Some people.
Tony, are they going to be able to? Because you, the
No.
What?
No.
Why
These
not?
players have
honest.
been here for such a long time. They are a true competitor.
It's fun.
It's really fun.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
You're just
You don't
give
like
it time.
fun?
That I'm giving you a reason to feel invested. We're saying these names. Look, I don't want to come out here and talk about Panthers hockey every
Yeah.
day. I do it because I care about this
Barkey.
market, and I care about you. I want you to be invested because this is your best shot
Ekblad.
at a championship. This one right here. It's not even Inter Miami.
Sam
It's
Reiner.
this team.
Inter Miami, we'll talk about in a second. I wonder
Yager.
if Greg Cote has ripped them for sitting all their stars against Montreal because I'm guessing he's impatient.
No, I didn't, and I wouldn't because that was a game that they could have won without him, and it's early in the season and all that, and they were unbeaten in the first 3 games. My concern with the Herons, I love using that nickname, is that Messi is going to be spread out so thin by all these competitions, Copa America, Leagues Cup, Paris Olympics. They're going to want him to play.
You get
in.
40% of Messi, it's good enough.
No, it isn't.
Yeah,
no,
it is.
No, it's
Not
very
in
You pay
today's
for
MLS,
100% of
Dan.
Messi.
Yeah.
Look,
You do have to
Exactly
save his
right.
legs, and they prioritize the
you.
CONCACAF Champions League
Right.
tie against Nashville.
Right.
They got a great result on the road, a tough place to play. 2-2. Luis Suarez, who many people wrote off, scored a 95th minute equalizer, and they decided MLS, that's more of a marathon. We just want to make the playoffs in that sport. We got to save Messi's legs. We'll give him a break against Montreal. Came back to bite them, but that's the math that you do. That's a winnable game without him.
Having Messi is a financial bonanza. It's 100% a great signing. Don't get me wrong, but there is, in my mind, there is a likelihood that they're not going to win an MLS Cup with Messi, and the reason for that is that there are so many other leagues that they're playing in the middle of MLS season.
It's a business play. It's a marketing play.
Got to keep the main thing
Of
the main
course.
thing, Dan. Right, Greg?
It's to me the MLS Cup
This is the new and
is
improved Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugots. Gamble on by DraftKings.
Before we onboard Pablo Torre finds out. Always interesting, relentlessly interesting. Every episode, it's hard to do that. Not a lot of people are doing that. Podcast space, very crowded. I would urge you to listen to Pablo Torre Finds Out because every last episode is something that has been more curious and interesting and thorough than most things, almost all things I've seen in this space. Before I do that, though, Greg Cody blew through the hard net workout and still had opinions on Messi that he had not gotten off. He wants 100% of Messi's time, even though I'm saying he's here for 40% of him, builds soccer in America, teams up with Apple, makes soccer matter in Miami, makes people interested in MLS, grows the sport, and is a marketing deal at the end of his career.
But Greg is right. They paid for 100% of his time and his attention.
I would say they paid to get their money back in marketing him correctly to build the sport that makes them charge twice the ticket sells. It's a rock band. Man, look, can we please stop with the integrity of I've got to win sports because that's what matters. Messi wants to win at business here, and 40% of him is what Apple in the U.S. and Miami will get. And Hong Kong will complain when he doesn't play there in a friendly, but this part of his career is him making money at this time in his career, and also he's the best.
Yeah, and he's still winning. Soccer is different. You have several opportunities to win hardware. He did so in winning the League's Cup, the inaugural League's Cup, brought the first trophy to Inter Miami last year, and they're telling you by not playing him against Montreal, while MLS and the MLS Cup is important, and clearly Greg Cody feels like it's the most important here. Yeah. Let's have a chance to win Club World Cup as the representative from this qualifying region, where you can actually have a semifinal on a neutral site, and you could see the likes of Inter Miami playing the likes of Real Madrid for something of note.
Financial windfall, no argument there. But
that's all that matters, you understand.
I disagree.
I mean, if they're gouging their season ticket holders so much that Mike can't afford to go to the games, it's all that matters. That's how they're keeping score.
Gouging is all that matters.
You can keep score differently if you want to be romantic about it, but you've seen soccer fail all over that patch of land 50 years living down here.
Right.
50 years you've seen soccer fail. This isn't going to fail if they can gouge the fans.
As long as Messi's here and has stars around him. What about 5 years from now?
Well, 5 years from now, the entire stadium is going to be fully underwater.
Well, there you go.
When you say the best, are you saying the best ever? Messi. I mean, Pele would like to have a word.
If Miami does
best ever.
If they don't win an MLS Cup with Messi, part of his time here will be considered a disappointment.
Agreed.
You really care so much about MLS Cup. You think it's got that much prestige.
That's the league he's playing
Who's
in.
the reigning champion?
That's the league he's supposedly...
Who's the reigning champion?
He's not here for
Is
quiz,
it New York?
Mike.
It wasn't
I'm not going to take
Greg,
a quiz.
the answer is it wasn't us. It
I'm
wasn't
not going
us.
to take a quiz.
Okay, if the reigning champion was
not
Inter,
New York.
was Inter Miami, I would know it.
That's true.
Because of Messi.
But it wasn't.
Right about
Yes,
that.
yeah.
He is right about that. Maybe. I don't know. Pablo, go ahead. You wanted to get in.
I was about to defend Greg before that sequence happened. I was about to say that we need more Gregs, that the MLS needs more Gregs, because that MLS, no article, I'm already exposing myself as a poser who's not really a fan of MLS. MLS needs more Gregs because if you just sort of take it and you're like, yes, Leo Messi's just doing like the equivalent of an extended cameo video from a celebrity for the city of Miami and for soccer in America, all of this is even sadder.
Which
you
is
just need someone
which
to
is what it is,
pretend like
Pablo,
it is.
Pablo, but it's what it is. Come on, it's what it is.
He has all of the power. He has all of the power, and you're lucky for a second of his time is the reality. And he knows that economically, he knows that culturally, he knows that in every possible way. And so Greg saying, actually, how dare you disrespect this Sweet 16 party is both sad, but also necessary for anyone to say.
All I'm saying is that if they don't win an MLS Cup with Messi, that segment of his time here is going to be seen as disappointing. It's as simple as that. They have to win the league he came here to play in and save soccer in America and grow soccer in America.
But what if they're the best team in all of CONCACAF?
Then
And
they
go
win-
on to the Club
What does
World
that
Cup.
mean?
Okay, then they win. Then they cash $5 million.
Just because you don't know about it doesn't mean it doesn't mean something.
But in Greg's defense, like if Messi doesn't care about the MLS and Inter Miami doesn't care about winning the
does.
MLS, why should I?
He does. You just got to pick and choose. There's fewer CONCACAF Champions League games. You got to. They already got to buy in that competition. God, I really don't want to have to explain this all over.
Well, no.
again,
Let
guys.
me interrupt you because
Didn't they win their IST?
Put it on the
basically.
poll, please, at LeBatard Show. Does it
Technically,
mean
there's 3 ISTs.
When they
There's
won
too
one of
many.
them, right?
There is.
I think they opted out of the
Soccer's
US
confusing.
Open Cup.
At least
Not
3.
UTI, Pablo.
This is a uniquely, right now, I think, all over the globe, there are a million Stugotz spawning in politics and anywhere. Because when Mike Ryan says, does it mean something if Stugotz doesn't know about it? You fool, Mike Ryan. No, nothing means anything unless it only fits within the framework of where Stugotz's ignorance
I see my
resides.
time
Thank
to
you,
the.
Dan.
I see my time to the representative from New York. We've
Okay.
already wasted his time.
Yes, we have. And Pablo Torre finds out. I will tell the audience again. Pablo, what is it that you've got coming up in this episode? Because I think one of the things that's most special about the podcast is that you can't really tell where the next one's going to end up. And if we just follow your curiosities, you're going to thoroughly report them in a way that's vigorous. It's why the voice of the show is special and different than most that are out there.
No, I appreciate that sincerely. That's actually what I'm going for. Dan always insults my shows. This one, he doesn't insult. That is the compliment that I take more than any of the specifics that he's just given me. So in this episode, I want to ask the room, actually, what do the words total request live mean to any of you? I'd like Greg to weigh in. I'd like the shipping container who's already responding to that title to weigh in. What do we got?
I think of it as a nostalgic Carson Daly time of like, growing up in pop culture.
I think of my childhood every day when I get home from school. Yeah. See where the Backstreet Boys are. See where Britney's at. Just my childhood nostalgia is what I think of.
Greg, do you know what we're talking about?
I am familiar with the phrase, but I would not have associated it with anyone or.
Do you know what it
anything in particular.
is? Do you know?
It doesn't sound like you're associated with it.
I mean, I assume it's like you request a video on MTV or something. I don't know.
So I'll explain this because for Greg, this is the MLS Cup, it turns out, which is disturbing to me. But for everybody else in America, this was the show that determined music and music sales and popularity of music in America. And so TRL came on right after school let out every weekday. It was a phenomenon. And it was the place where people would not just request, Greg, they would vote. And so this was a democracy. It was the foremost electoral mechanism in America to determine what's cool, what's popular. And so we're doing a story today that is not a sports story. It's the first one we've done that is actually not even sports, but it's about the rigging of the vote of Total Request Live, sparked by computer hackers, a chain letter. If you remember what chain letters were in the AOL days, Dan is still on AOL. He's still maybe forwarding chain letters of like, if you don't forward this, you're gonna break your back. You're bad things will happen to your family. Like it's a threat. Chain letters.
A 1-800-Flowers ad, the way I used to do it. Yes,
yes, exactly. Dan Le Batard will be waiting in a closet, there to jump out at you with a knife if you don't forward this email. And there is a movement to put the uncoolest band in 1999 at the top of the charts. And the uncoolest band in 1999, which was the era of NSYNC being the apex predator, the Backstreet Boys, as Chris mentioned, was New Kids on the Block. If you remember New Kids on the Block, they were the old boy band. They committed the cardinal sin of being now the old kids. And there was this movement to hack the vote. And so we report the untold story of what happens when the first internet movement that tries to make a mockery of internet elections in the way that, by the way, the Louis Brinson movement you guys did, the move to get Zaza Pachulia into the NBA All-Star game, all of these fan voting mechanisms started with TRL, and it started with this hack. And so we solved the question of what happened and who did it and what was the story. And it's shocking to me and my childhood what we discovered because it went a lot bigger than what we anticipated.
Pablo, did you get into it all how Tom Green and his fans essentially successfully did that? Not with a hack, just by actual voting, and then MTV ran into a problem where they upset all of the record companies and they forced his song to be retired to not piss off the Backstreet Boys.
So I fell into the rabbit hole on seeing like who was in there, who were the characters. Tom Green absolutely was one of these people. This is not a Tom Green story, but I obviously am familiar with that, Billy. Likewise, like the people who would come on to TRL. Like I want people to understand because I'm worried about now how old I am here. I'm 38. And this is where Eminem, Mariah Carey, everybody, the former artist known as and unlitigated against. P. Diddy was there. Like, everybody was showing up, everybody in music. And so the thing about galvanizing the vote was the promise. They gave power to kids, to young people in a way that no one else was doing in America at the time. And so that was Tom Green in that way. But that is by far not the biggest story of how democracy was manipulated.
One of the things that Pablo will explore, I can know this without even knowing exactly where he's headed, is the idea, Stugotz, of this is, I don't know if it's a genesis or ground zero for, like, here is how young people get to influence. You influence them here, they develop influence, and next thing you know, because young people are the ones who make everything popular, young people are consuming 2 and 3 times as much of the internet as you are, and the power becomes real, the power of young people. And I'm guessing, if this isn't ground zero for it in pop culture, MTV and a show being popular on MTV, would be it.
No, Dan, this was it. When we talk about why boy bands were popular, it's because of TRL. It's something I didn't appreciate until reporting this story. You went on TRL because that platform at that time, with all these people voting, moved markets. So NSYNC breaks the single season, like it's sports, the single week all-time record for album sales in a week after they go on TRL.
You're very excited about it. No one else here is.
I am.
No one else. I can see no one else here is.
Can you find out what happened to Dave Holmes of Say What Karaoke?
Dave Holmes, Billy, I am proud to announce, is the protagonist of this story.
What?
Talk to Dave Holmes. He is in this episode. Yes.
Wow.
All right, Pablo, you've aged out. You've aged out. You're doing a story.
Like Greg.
No, but you're
like
doing
Greg.
a story
Thank
about
you.
young people, and Tony has no idea what you're talking about.
Tony,
no idea what you're talking about.
I was locked in
How
on
old were you?
PTI as a kid. In 1999, I was 8 years old. My bad.
Can Pablo Torre find out why we're not talking about football?
Pablo's old. Thank you. You know what, Stugotz? You know what, Stugotz? Thank you.
Yeah.
Pablo. Yeah. Pablo Torre. Come on. TRL, Pablo. We got football.
I will listen.
Football. Stugotz was during the break muttering under his breath, and I don't know what the tension is exactly between Pablo and God Bless Football, but God Bless Football is just as award-winning as Pablo Torre finds out and isn't occupying sort of the same hoity-toity lane. And what Stugotz said as soon as the microphones went off was, why doesn't Pablo Torre find out at an hour other than first thing in the morning?
On the first day of free agency.
Why does he have
with a frenzy going on?
We've got a football frenzy. We're going to stop over here so he can talk about Carson Daly? Like, what are you doing?
Whatever TRL is, Total Request Live, whatever that means.
Thank you, Tony.
What are you doing?
Just the biggest show in American pop culture.
Okay, but pot him down.
Bigger than
please.
the NFL?
Pot
They
him
had to
down.
close
You ever
the
watch a
like
Super Bowl?
hurricane
Times
shutters.
Square got shut down.
Yes.
Thousands of girls were flooding Times Square in control of American capitalism and culture and what was cool. And you're like, Chris Jones.
No, if
Chris
we
Jones, maybe. Let's do that.
If
Good signing.
If we wanted to find out what you are finding out, we would have been over there finding out about it. You went on about it, and if people want to know more about it, they can listen to Pablo Torre Finds Out. We've got football to talk about. Do you have something to contribute on the football front?
Chris Jones.
All
Good
right.
signing.
All right, get out of
Jesus.
here.
Can you do an episode on the Minnesota Wild pulling their goalie in overtime?
Yeah, find out
And
why.
Rule 84-2.
I like the
NHL
idea of
rule book.
Pablo finding out rules we don't know. I do.
Did
like
you know that this
Yes.
rule existed? That if you pull your goalie in overtime in the NHL, you run the risk of losing the point that you would have gained in losing a game in overtime.
Mike, go sit in the penalty box.
Oh wow!
Have you guys
Go
ever
sit
heard
in
of
the penalty
Vanessa
box.
2 minutes for
Lachey?
talking hockey?
Like, get out of
Vanessa
here.
Lachey.
Love is
Vanessa
blind,
Lachey.
right?
Out.
Did you
Part
find out
Filipino.
about that rule when it happened?
Mike Ryan, out.
Did you find out about that rule when it happened?
Out, Mike
Did
Ryan.
you find out about that rule when it happened?
I'm tired of you and this entire subject matter. Stop it, please.
Guess where she met Nick Lachey and they had an affair? TRL.
Really?
Wow, how
There
about
it
that?
is.
Thank
Maybe,
you.
All roads.
allegedly. Not 100% sure, but she used to work for Vanessa Manillo before and Nick Lachey. And
Stugotz.
Vanilla.
without them, we
Filipino
wouldn't have
name.
Love is Blind today, Dan.
Billy,
TRL.
okay, I want to know what's going on with you and Pablo Torre Finds Out, because you guys occupy different lanes, and Stugotz has occasionally spit things in the direction of after the Pablo segment that I recognize as has some acid on it, even though we're all friends here.
Are we, though?
Are we, though?
Okay,
I
thanks
feel
for
like
the help, guys.
Stugotz took a lie detector test once in which it was revealed that he didn't want me to join this company.
That's true.
That is true.
I asked that
You know.
question. I regretted that.
Yep.
Just like you regretted now.
Well, I don't think Pablo. I think Pablo likes Stugots, right? Pablo, do you like Stugots?
I love Stugots.
And I love Pablo.
Stugots.
Less certain about that.
Stugots tried to get me to co-host a show with him that we recently found out about on Pablo Torre Finds Out.
Yeah.
That was
listen to this.
Week.
I'm sorry. Forgive me. The last episode of Pablo Torre
Should've
Finds
happened.
Out. I forgot to talk about this. Please, Stugots. I learned for the first time that this is news to me, that Stugots had tried to do shows with both Pablo and Mina that he wanted to try and get off the ground.
They were on the rise at the time, I figured jump on the bandwagon with them. But yeah, I wanted to do a show with Pablo where he and I wore Velcro suits and we were on a wall that said sports on it and we just stuck to sports. While having sports conversations.
Finally.
It's funny, man. We had trampolines. We're jumping off trampolines into the board. We stick to the board, and we stick to sports.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's more of a bit than a show.
When we talk football, our hands have to be in the dirt. Oh, it was a
what
beauty.
a wonderful
Yes,
idea.
Thank you.
What
That's so
happened?
good.
I don't know.
Did you tell anyone, or was this in your head?
I told Pablo.
Well, it doesn't sound like you told him till last week.
No. This
I
was Billy.
I
Billy,
learned.
Billy.
No, this is me. The part of the story you're missing is that Stugotz trying to cut all sorts of side deals on rising stars, Mina and Pablo, with just coming to them with the idea of, I'll jump off a trampoline and stick to something. Pablo, you'll handle the rest, right?
I was just trying to grow the company, Dan.
Yeah.
That's all I was trying to. Team player.
This was before Meadowlark was formed.
Yeah.
This was in 2020, like early.
Grow the company.
If you were to Dan,
Grow
if you
the
were,
company.
Grow
that doesn't exist.
ESPN, right?
Yes, grow ESPN. Grow the company of Stugotz. Grow the company you were keeping with Pablo and Mina.
if you were to go around and ask each person in this building or even in this room, you'd find out that he has side deals with everyone in shows that are in pre-production that, don't actually happen.
Right. Well, just waiting on people to finish their jobs.
What was the one with Mina?
Oh, I have no idea what the show was with Mina. It was just any show with Mina would have worked because she's Mina. I mean,
He fishes by throwing out 70 nets at the same time and hopes that one
Billy,
of them
I'd say the best way to fish.
Yep.
We
thank
so
you.
we were on a
Pass
Zoom
the wide
call.
one, Tone.
It was not a Zoom call because Zoom wasn't a thing. It was a call. It was a conference call. It was me, Stugotz, and Charlie Kravitz, who was going to produce Stick to Sports.
That's right. It's Charlie's fault. He never got it done. Right.
Yeah. God, I'm glad you remembered him in all of his importance to this enterprise. And the call began with what Stugotz just said, and then it somehow went on for another 45 minutes, and I don't remember what the rest of it was because all I remember was trampolines, Velcro suit, Stick to Sports, and everything else. I was
Hand in
like,
dirt.
That's all you
how are we
needed.
still on the phone?
Right.
Are you jumping face first into Velcro and then talking into a wall? I'm trying to
good
imagine how that
question.
would work.
You remember
That's
those
how
little,
you think that would go.
Remember those little balls? Like it was a dartboard, and you would just throw the ball and it
No,
would
we
stick
get
to the
that. We
dartboard. Right.
get
I would
that.
jump off a trampoline and stick to a wall that said sports on it.
All right,
Okay.
And we'd stick to sports.
We got that. That's not
It
the
was a
part that
way
we're
to do a
confused
show with
by.
Pablo where he had to talk about sports.
It's a brilliant idea.
Not
Patent it.
only is it brilliant, like all of Stugotz's ideas, it's blatantly stolen. David Letterman did this many years before.
He stuck to sports.
On television. No, he stuck to a Velcro wall jumping off of a trampoline, and it didn't stick to just sports. But
We're good then.
The funniest part of this is that Stugotz basically has that as the germ of the idea, and the name of the rest of the show would be, and you guys will do the rest, right? Like, I'm coming to you. This is my intellectual.
I'm just sticking to sports.
This is
Dan.
my intellectual property. The joke I've got in 2024 is I stick to sports.
I've gotten a
three.
text from 3 different people saying we've got a golf show in the works. And none of them are aware of the other golf show that are in the works.
Chris and I are getting to it.
None of them were from Chris.
We've actually done one.
Oh, Pablo, you sent me a nice video. I'm now looking back at the group chat that we had. You sent me a nice video of a guy jumping off a trampoline into a wall of sports. I mean, look at this, Dan.
Is it Letterman?
It's Letterman, yes.
Okay.
It is a
Thief.
Video currently on the DraftKings Network.
Swipe
You
your
show.
idea.
Yes, it is a simple thievery, but I just can't believe that that's the only idea you came to an hour meeting with. Like, and
Well,
yet-
no, the
Oh,
dirt
another-
one.
Whoa, whoa,
Another,
whoa. Hand in the
another
dirt.
great side note. Another great side note from this group chat that I'm revisiting is Stugotz spelling Charlie's name wrong, somehow spelling it Charley.
I did that.
Yeah, it should be.
Well played
Yeah.
by you.
Right.
Yeah.
He probably thought it was Charlie Hume also. Different Charlies.
football. Do you have anything to offer us on football? Nothing. Chris Jones is all you've got.
Oh, you're talking to me again?
Oh, get him out
Want
of
me
here.
to actually
Get
stick
him
to
out of here.
sports?
Just get him out of here. I don't want to see his face anymore.
I didn't sign
Just
up for
get
this.
out of here. Just get out of here. Pablo
PRL,
Torre,
though.
Pablo
That
Torre
takes.
finds out. If you want to know anything about Pablo Torre, finds out his curiosities. Put them over there. Football. Let's get back to football. We've Mike Ryan has blessedly been out of the room, no longer talking about the Minnesota Wild. So, what were the interesting things to the Dookie, the Duke of football, fourth ranked internationally, according to Britain's leading daily.
Oh, you want some winners and losers, Dan? Is that what you're
Yes,
asking
yes.
for?
I've got him.
Yes,
I have a big loser. We can do Stugotz because I have one big loser yesterday. Justin Fields. Big
Why is
loser
there no
yesterday.
market for him? Why is there no market for him?
People don't think he's good.
No, he's good, man. Like, if you put him in the right spots, he's good. The problem is everybody wants to get somebody cheaper, I guess. Like,
Why is there not a good market for him? It's like someone explain to me if the economy of the position I'm not understanding. If we're going to go right between, if we're going to live in this space between the running back is totally disposable and the running back is totally disposable, but the quarterback's not disposable at all. And Lamar Jackson, I can figure out an offense that makes him the MVP. And Justin Fields, wow, maybe not as accurate as I'd like, but seems to be in the space between running back and quarterback, and I don't need a running back anymore. I don't pay a running back anymore. Maybe Baltimore will get Derrick Henry, but they played without a running back because the position is being played by two people. You get value at the position. You explain to me if I've got any of this wrong. Do you think I have any of this wrong?
Well, I think with Justin Fields, the problem for him is, and maybe there's a market now in Minnesota or maybe elsewhere. We'll see what else happens. But the quarterbacks in this year's draft, and you have a bunch of teams who are going to take a quarterback in this year's draft, they can get a quarterback on the cheap that they think might be better than Justin Fields. You're going to have to eventually pay Justin Fields. So I think that's why the market has shrunk.
But
on him.
eventually pay is not paying him this year.
Well, if you can get him, and everything is relative in the market, right? Like, the Dolphins are now going to try to get Tua for a Kirk Cousins type contract, okay? And if Baker Mayfield is making $33 million a year, then that should be a starting point for signing Justin Fields. He's worth it.
Can you guys walk me down the path, please, of Kirk Cousins, one playoff victory in his career, $330 million of guaranteed football money coming off of an injury? Just explain to me how one of those is value and the other one is not.
Do you guys remember Joey Fatone? He's in this episode. Joey Fatone in his prime, 99 Fatone.
Get out of here.
He has a hot dog chain
How
now,
do
right?
I-
Called Fat Ones.
Yes.
Fat one.
Brisker Patrick.
Wait a minute. I told you the first time I discovered him was on MTV. I didn't know who that was, and it said Fatone, but they used the graphic where they put parentheses around the one, and I'm like, why would they call the boy band member Joey Fat One? Like they're going that simplistic on the objectification of boy bands that it's just
Little
gonna
on
be,
the nose
this guy's
for
the
him.
fat one.
It is kind of like how when someone has the last name, that is exactly what their job is.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like
Bob
that.
Race Car.
Pablo tricked you, Dan.
He did. Get out of here.
He sucked you back
Get
in.
out of here. I don't know why he's still here.
1999.
I don't. Kirk Cousins. Someone explain it to me. Tony.
he's really good, Dan.
No.
That's the explanation. He is a good quarterback.
No, he's not that
That's why
good.
he's going to be making $330 million in his career.
Hall of Famer.
He's a great businessman. He is not a great quarterback.
No, he
Greg,
is.
did you say Justin
Hall of
Fields?
Famer?
No, no,
Time
no.
out. Billy thinks
No.
he's the first
No,
ballot
he's
Hall of
going
Famer.
Kirk
No,
Cousins.
that was-
Hold
yeah,
on.
Billy thinks
He's
he's
doing
the first
Cousins.
ballot.
Kirk Cousins is a Hall of Famer.
Right.
Okay, I'm looking up his stats right now.
What?
I'm not saying that having looked up his stats.
What?
More
Kirk
yardage than
Cousins
Aikman.
is not a Hall of Famer. Put it on the poll, please, at LeBatard Show. Is Kirk Cousins a Hall of Famer?
Okay,
Get
hang
out of
on.
here. He's a Hall of Famer.
He's an excellent
Yeah.
quarterback, not a Hall of Famer.
Did Greg say Justin Fields is as good as Baker Mayfield?
Good completion percentage, good TD interception ratio, big numbers, 1, 2,
I don't-
3,
I
It's not the Hall of Good.
I don't
4 All-Star or
Well
Pro
said.
Bowls.
Too many conversations at the same time. I still want to know, is Justin Fields good?
Should we revisit the 2021 NFL draft?
Is Justin Fields good?
Yes.
Yes,
would sign
maybe,
him.
no.
I demand an answer.
The league is telling you no.
You can't sit that out. I've got a bit of a problem on my hands because with Greg Cote here on Tuesday, and as I said, the football addiction made an appearance yesterday in a way that jostled me. And so there are a number of things that I want to get to, Stugots.
Right.
Greg Cote is advocating for some reason on behalf of prosthetic ears.
Huh.
I badly want to get to that, whatever it is that he's thinking about there. But also, Greg is more worried than I've ever seen him about the news he's he's consuming and how much warning we're getting on extinction level event type of problems in our just general atmosphere, metaphorical and otherwise.
Right.
Just that things that are coming for us as we talk about whether Tiki Barber and Saquon Barkley get along or not.
Please, Tiki Barber.
Enough of that.
Enough of that guy.
Jesus.
Come on now.
Come on.
Tiki Barber.
Like
Please.
you had a couple good seasons. What makes you the god of the New York Giants all of a sudden? Give me a break.
That's a bit disrespectful.
I mean, come on, Dan. He's got a problem with everybody.
It's disrespectful to say that Tiki Barber wasn't any good at his job.
Not a Hall of Famer, though.
He didn't say that, though.
Right.
I didn't say that.
Thankfully, he didn't.
Couple good years.
Said a couple
Thankfully,
good years.
he
Couple
wasn't
good years.
disrespectful.
Better than Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, it'd be maybe disrespectful
Not a
to just come
quarterback.
out and brag about how they won a championship the second you left the team. But I'm not gonna rub that in.
The year after. He did have 1,900 yards.
No, yeah, he had a
Rushing.
couple
High
of really
and
good
tight.
seasons. Yeah.
High and tight. See, you can coach turnovers out of a player.
That was an amazing thing to see Tiki Barber reinvent his career. But that story, I do want to get to it. But what is the extinction level worrying you're doing right now?
Well, I'm going to read this because it's shocking to read. The U.S. must move quickly and decisively to avert substantial national security risks from artificial intelligence that could cause an extinction-level threat to the human species, according to a new government report.
We're all gonna die.
And so it's like, it's overwhelming. Like, you can't even digest the plausibility of that. And it makes what we do for a living, like yucking into a microphone and talking about sports, seem less, more inconsequential than it ever has, but at the same time, more important to take our mind off, the level threat to the human species. It's difficult for me to process that artificial intelligence, which is just now beginning to really boom,
It's moving quickly,
is
huh?
this
Yes.
level of
Right.
potentially dangerous. It's crazy.
I'm right there with you, Greg. I'm super concerned by it. And while we may not be foremost experts to talk about this, we are in the human race. Yeah. And we have watched the movies, and just to see the leaps that artificial intelligence has made in just the last few months, it is a very logical concern. But it's also a lot like global warming in that, say we do everything we can here in the United
It's too
States.
late. It's too late.
You also can't count on other foreign governments to take the same kind of steps. So I really do think I am really afraid of it. And I really do fear that we've unlocked something that will be the end of us.
Back to free agent football.
That's the true power of the NFL, by the way, that, free agency in a frenzy could take us away from the end of civilization. I mean,
You already see these isolated stories where artificial intelligence demands that you call it master. And that, it's just, it's a really scary thing, and we are not capable of putting the genie back in the bottle.
Let's just unplug everything.
Yeah.
Right? Or just spray some water on it. But
Yeah.
the thing is, you have so many competing governments and ideologies that someone is always going to be acting in bad faith, even if you come to this global agreement.
Okay, and you can throw up your hands in despair, or you can listen to the speeches where they say that hope is the greatest thing that America has.
Wouldn't spraying water give it growth?
No,
a
that's
good question.
artificial intelligence.
And in other news, civilization is dissolving all around us, and Haiti is being overrun by gangs. But how about that contract? How about the Steelers getting Russell Wilson for a bag of peanuts?
We are a
It's
distraction.
unbelievable.
We are a distraction. We can care about Austin Eckler's contract.
That joke
and,
kind of fell flat, huh?
and what's
You
going
were
on
trying
in
to
Haiti.
whip into the joke there.
Can you
tried
explain
to-
what's going on in Haiti?
See if ChatGPT can rewrite
He
that
just
joke for
he
you.
just wanted to do that joke. He's going to be replaced by artificial intelligence because there was no conviction in it, no sincerity.
Right.
He's like, and how about that? And then it's unbelievable. It's
No.
like the laziest version of you comedically.
Okay.
Couldn't
have been less funny.
Could be replaced easily by robots.
Right. there was some serious undertone to it because I feel for the people of Haiti, and I've actually mentioned this.
So you threw
on the
a joke
air
in.
before.
So you threw a joke in.
Yeah,
at the end.
in the spirit of what we're talking
Raising
about.
awareness.
That's a show, Dan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
he's fine.
That's exactly right. I'm doing his show, and he's criticizing me.
You
just
did
like,
it
you did it as
insincerely.
poor- yeah.
You did it with no effort. You did it so lazily, and you're like, "How about this?" And then, like, you're a lounge act. Like,
Okay.
put some oomph behind it.
Effortlessly is usually a good thing in the performative
Thank you, Mike.
aspects of
Yeah,
what it is
this
that we
guy,
do.
he doesn't know what he wants.
What if this isn't actually Greg? This is like AI Greg.
could
that's here
be.
today.
We
That's
need to
right.
do that. AI Stugotz, AI Greg Cody.
Fine.
See how it looks. Do you have a back in my day today?
I did an AI back in my day, if you'll recall at one point. I need AI to write me another back in my day. You don't have one? No.
You don't have one.
Dan, the NFL news, it never stops. Gabe
Thank you.
Davis, 3 years, $39 million to the Jaguars. He's going to drop passes in Jacksonville.
Yeah, so Calvin Ridley's out in Jacksonville.
He went somewhere.
I believe Ridley's unsigned right now still.
Unsigned, but it looks like the market is kind of opening up for him. Maybe in New England, maybe a dark horse team.
Is he the number one there, Gabe?
If I can
No, Kirk is.
just for a second, if I can just take one quick macro look at this, I don't know, maybe this part of it doesn't bother you at all, but if we're talking in football about the maximum efficiency use of how to spend your dollars, if we're going to get obsessed with the dollars of what yesterday was, how do you build a team in a salary cap sport, even though it's stupid that sport is salary cap, like ridiculous, asinine that it's salary cap with those people making that kind of money, but you agreed to it. And so once you collectively bargain that, you give up a lot of your rights. But football is this machine that grounds through the running back position. And this is the part, it's dispiriting to me. So you're going to tell me that we're going to maximize value in dollars so much that all of these teams are now primed for, this is a good quarterback draft, and I can get any of them for 5 years at the rookie wage scale at quarterback, and I'm going to change what matters in this sport so much that Justin Fields is going to get iced out there because he's not valued because you can only have him for a year. I'll take a year of Justin Fields if I could get the broken down Russell Wilson for 1.2, but Sam Darnold cost $10 million a year. Like, explain all of it to me as if I'm an idiot.
Did you see that 60-minute special 2 years ago that revealed that the entire nuclear arsenal of the United States was operated off of floppy disk? And 2 years ago, we were like, well, you got to update that. Now I'm thinking we go back to 2 years ago. Floppy disk is the way to go.
The clear ones?
No. I'm talking about like Oregon Trail, like extra big,
the
like
actual
one that you can
floppy
fade
ones.
yourself.
Yeah.
The floppy ones, yeah.
Oh, I missed those. Greg?
I've never had a floppy disk.
Yes,
You know, dysentery was just diarrhea.
Can't be true.
I don't think I have. I mean,
Is that
floppy
true?
Disk. What is a floppy? Is that something you insert like a CD?
You never worked on floppy disk?
I don't think I.
How did you go from the original typewriter to another kind of computer?
My first laptop-ish type computer was a Texas Instrument, like a big suitcase that weighed about 40 pounds.
And you couldn't put anything in it, right?
No.
And so when did you start putting information into your computer?
On a PC, personal computer.
So that was a floppy disk.
But it wasn't floppy.
You
It
were
was
at
like
the
a hard-
Herald long
a
enough
hard piece
that
of
you
plastic.
submitted your articles off typewriter, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you ever handwrite a Herald?
Oh, my God.
Did you ever
on triplicate paper?
Explain to
What
me
if the paper bent?
Yeah,
Then
explain
did,
to me
the
your
newspaper have,
workflow,
a
like
line
from
in the
day
middle of
one
it?
through the Times, the evolution of Greg Cote submitting work to the Miami Herald. I'm fascinated by it.
Okay, it was literally a typewriter where I typed a story on triplicate paper, and then I handed it to my editor, and God knows what happened to it, but somehow it wound up in print. Back in those days, and then a Texas.
No,
Instrument,
wait. By courier. How are you getting? If you're out in the field, are you always doing it in the office, or are you sometimes working
this is before
remotely?
fax
Like,
machines.
how are you getting? This is before fax machines.
Right. Yeah. No. In that case, I'm at Lockhart Stadium covering a Dillard Boyd Anderson football game, and after the game, I'm waiting in line behind 14 teenage girls who are calling their parents for a ride, and finally I get there and I'm dictating my story into someone.
So someone has
over
to
the
write it
phone?
again?
This is pre-typewriter, or you wrote it by typewriter and then read it into a phone?
No. When I'm in the office, I'm writing it on a typewriter, on triplicate paper. When I'm in the field, like covering a game, I'm dictating it by phone to an editor.
Have
who
you
is
written it down
copying.
on a legal pad? Are you just dictating something that is allegedly written?
Sometimes I'm dictating it off the top of my head if it's right on deadline. Otherwise, I'm writing off notes and everything. But that happened for a good few years.
How would the thing that was typewritten get to the Miami Herald?
I don't know.
Did you have?
It's a good question.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
But you sent them in.
That's why you're one of the best interviewers in the business.
It's not his job to figure that out.
You totally stumped him.
He told the story. He doesn't know.
How did I send them in?
He's not going to take a quiz.
Okay. Now the big advance in technology is when the Texas Instrument
Greg,
came along.
how
and
the
I put the phone in
TI,
rubber
yeah.
ears. You put the phone. It fit in 2 rubber ears, and that transmitted what I had written in the Texas Instrument.
That's crazy.
What?
Yeah,
You
wow.
put a phone into
Yeah.
What a time.
Yeah.
The phone would have
Prosthetic ears.
intercourse with the Texas
That's
Instrument,
correct.
and out came a thoroughly mediocre column.
And it would make a beeping sound, and then on the other end would come. And back in those days, it wasn't a column; it was a
Look at this
game
back
story.
in my day. This,
Yeah, it was more Dateline
this
stuff,
natural
right?
back in my day unspooling. He loves these questions because it's all about him. I'm simply stunned, and you should be too, that his memory has receded so much that the beginnings of his career when he was hungriest, he simply does not remember how the work got from where he was doing it to where it needed to go. He can't remember whether he handed something to somebody, whether it was taken off by carrier pigeon
Coupler?
or how
A
it is.
carrier
How
pigeon.
can he not remember that?
I remember all I needed to remember, which is I wrote it on a typewriter.
Well, sometimes you just spoke it.
You
made
if I'm in the
deadline.
office,
That's all you
I
care
handed
about.
I handed it to my boss.
Sometimes Barney Rubble's secretary would get a bird that would
Would he
just
drive
drill it into a tablet.
You'd hand a piece of paper to your boss, and your boss would drive it somewhere?
Pull the bird by
He
the
wasn't
tail.
in
and-
charge of that part
I
of
don't
it.
know.
Were there automobiles at the time?
Yeah, there
Were
were.
there working traffic roads?
There was a town crier.
I mean, I can't be expected to know everything.
Yeah.
I did what I did.
He did his
And
part.
then the editor, my boss, the editor, all my bosses are dead now. They,
no.
there's nobody to ask. John Wolin. Hey, do you remember?
This is the new and unimproved Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugots. Gamble on by DraftKings.
I keep getting derailed, Stugotz, because I do want to talk about men's basketball that hasn't won a game since before the Super Bowl.
Coach L's.
I do want to get to your winners and losers.
Oh.
I want to
Forgot
get.
about this.
I know. There's just so many things. Mookie Betts is a shortstop now. Like what?
What?
Yeah.
Permanently.
Yeah. Like what?
Stop it.
For now. Permanently for now.
How?
I don't understand.
All the other shortstops are angry about this. They're like, there goes my chance at an all-star spot.
Yeah, but it opens up a spot for an outfielder.
We have
true.
prosthetic ears to get to. Billy has something that he's been wanting to talk to Mike about for a while in the reports involving magic, because I find that we've got a couple of specialties lately where the people gravitate to us for some reason. Alien talk in some areas, and I believe we've got an exclusive lane on magic talk. I believe that we have 2 people who care about magic unreasonably. What is the name of this thing? Magic Castle?
Magic Castle, yeah.
What is this?
It's a magic castle.
Yeah, in Los Angeles, it's a part of a kind of a secret society. It's invite only, and the creme de la creme of the elite in Hollywood get invited occasionally for huge magic galas.
Didn't we have a member of the Magic Castle on the
Yes.
local hour like years ago?
Yeah.
Just kind of telling us how it worked out.
Still my plug.
Really?
No, I still haven't gone.
His name Ari?
I think so. Yeah, Ari Adventures.
Yeah.
You
a
guys were
Nashville model.
fascinated
No
by
Magic
this
Castles
back
there.
then, and I want more information. But what I wanted to ask you, and we've done this wrong because Tony just went to get Michael Venom Page. He's coming in here, MVP, and we've been talking about.
What a great name.
Yeah, it's a great name, and he's an excellent fighter, and he's coming off of. People are going to want to hear from this person now because I was talking about the fighting sports and how brand names get made, and if your name is MVP.
Well, I don't think his name is actually Venom.
If you can go by MVP
It should
because
be.
you've made your nickname
He's
Venom,
Michael Venom Page.
you're 22-2, you're 36 years old. Tony just went to go get him, and I want to execute the bit with somebody here of taking a kick from an MMA fighter.
Greg volunteered.
A welterweight fighter.
$1,000 still stands, Dano.
For you, right? $1,000 for you to do it. And I want to show Masvidal because somebody did this with John Jones, incidentally. I don't know. John Jones is genuinely, Stugots, one of the most fascinating sports figures of my journalism lifetime.
We have to apologize. It's not Ari. It's Addy.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, but look, that's what my invite looked like, and then I just had a thing.
Look, you were invited to the Magic Castle.
Yeah,
You didn't go?
Well, he had to do it ahead of time, and I didn't know if I was going to be able to swing it.
Huh.
$2.
It's a great regret in my life.
I want to get in that Magic Castle. What do I have to do?
No, I know a guy.
I love a secret society.
Yeah.
It's like being invited into a moose lodge or something.
You're right. You should start one, Greg.
Yeah.
You should start your own.
Are you in any
should.
secret societies?
I am developing a secret society revolving around me.
Ooh.
And it's going to be called the Coterie. Coterie.
I'm in.
Yeah, the Coterie. And of course,
A club of self-involvement?
we all know what the word means,
my
and
club.
so it fits. two
Club
ways.
narcissism, everybody.
Well,
Stunning that your secret society would be the worst kept secret in all of journalism,
The
which is
Coterie.
Greg Cody is obsessed with Greg Cody featuring Coterie.
That podcast comes out on Mondays.
Thank you.
You just found out about it, so it was a good, well-kept secret.
Yeah, I mean, the Greg Cody Show listeners have been called my Coterie, and now we're thinking of expanding it in some ways. And by the way, the newest episode of the Greg Cody Show podcast is one of our most monumental ever. The controversial Ed Newman interview finally runs.
And
missed
downloads are
out.
down because of it.
Well,
missed out.
but barely.
Give it some time.
But
My dad was
barely.
like, maybe you guys are right. We have 600 less downloads than we did last week.
Yeah,
Give
you
it
know.
time. He hasn't plugged it yet.
But that's true, Billy. But we also get into a conversation that leads to my exploring the idea of
Sounded duller than dog shit.
I've heard that phrase before, but not applied to my podcast until now.
I can't really put my finger on it why I'm so drawn to just unabashed narcissism.
Thank you. The idea of prosthetic ears, though, is something that
Yeah.
really appeals to me.
I love it.
You know, and we began by discussing amputation.
Well, it also starts with, if you look at my dad, take your headphones off real fast. Stugots, look at my dad straight ahead. You can't see my dad's ears.
Yeah, which one's real, which one's
No, they're
fake?
like pinned right to
Yeah,
your
like-
head.
like
Yes.
right here.
to have no
Now,
ears.
Dad, look at us right here in this room. I want Billy and Mike to see it. Like, look at us straight ahead. You can't see my dad's ears. when he's
People
looking
pay
straight
big
at
money
you.
to pin their ears back.
You know, it's the only
Yeah,
part of
it's
your
a
body
blessing.
that
You're right.
never stops growing.
In the entire studio, no one has disappearing ears like I do.
Well,
Is
I
it?
actually do.
I
It's
thought
a
the
Cody
nose.
thing.
I thought the nose was also. Sorry, Chris. I thought the nose was also that the ears and the nose were two things that grew.
Well,
Only
that
if
would,
you lie,
That would
yeah.
be bad
Right.
news if it.
Just
Because the
my
trivia
nose,
is like it's
yeah.
the only part of the body. Let me see. Only part. I'm like a dog with a bone on this one.
Well, I have large Cody ears that have a crease in them. They're not attractive ear. The ear itself is one of the ugliest parts of the human body. But if I could get beautifully sculpted prosthetic ears and have them planted on both sides of my head, I think it would really enhance my whole aura.
Well, would you remove your ears for said ear implants,
of
or would they
course.
sit over them?
No, because I'd want them to be smaller. It would
Got it.
involve a double ear amputation.
Good
and then
shout,
prosthetic
Dan
ears.
Le Batard. Ears and nose. Wow, you learn something every day with this show.
Maybe for the coterie, Greg, instead of like the water buffaloes, you know, like the Flintstones
Right.
had the big hat, maybe you have big, like almost Princess Leia type
I
ear
like
muffs
it.
that go on.
That guy is a thinker.
Chris
Really is a
Cody was
thinker.
just showing me that he has his father's ears. He's got
It's a
ears.
Cody thing.
They're not flaps. You don't see them going off to the side. They
Right.
don't protrude. They are stuck to. They are sticking to sports.
Yeah, we're
They're
earless.
stuck to the side of their face.
Right.
And
But
so
if you can't see them, then what's the big deal?
But
know?
if you get a prosthetic, was my point to my dad, is you're going to have to get one that's pinned back, or else you're going to have one ear that's like
But why do you
sticking out.
want them to be what? No one has ever thought of your ears before now, other than you.
Right.
This is the place of your greatest narcissism. Like no one's noticing your ears one way or the other.
Well,
I bet-
that's the problem. You can't
know.
see them.
I
You
don't
want them seen?
Yeah, I don't like flat back ears. I love the peanut shaped ear that is visible from the front view. You know, and so naturally you're going to have a double prosthetic ear situation.
Also,
because-
you have the Cody crease.
I
which
do.
Is a thing.
Yeah, which is patent pending.
Did you pass that down to Graceland by any chance, or does it end
No,
with
no,
you?
it develops. Like right now, like some people think I'm developing it. You don't see the crease yet, but there's
Oh.
like signs of a crease.
Late in life.
Oh, yeah,
As
but-
your ear grows, the crease grows.
Yeah, and at some point the crease is so deep you could like plant crops in it. You know, it's like unappealing
I
to look at.
remember when my
Fascinating.
daughter was like an infant, we blamed my dad for ruining her ear when it was just something that like happens with like she had this little thing on her ear and it went away like a couple months
No, it's
later.
the coterie. It's descended from the ear
'Cause
poisons
my
of your
dad would
grandfather.
do this. My dad would do this thing where he'd grab her ears and like,
Yes.
and all of a sudden she had this thing. So there was like a 3-week period where me and my wife were legitimately blaming my dad for ruining my daughter's ear.
I mean, you want to make sure that they don't get pinned back to his head. That's what
Yeah.
he was trying to look out for.
Zagak.
It's
Yep.
genetic.
Right.
Runs in the family.
It is indeed.
I need some help
Not your
with the
fault.
production of this because Tony, our UFC guy, his MMA hangouts are developing a following, and he just went to go get MVP. He's joining us in studio, and we've been talking about these leg kicks. It started with Jorge Masvidal. We had his driver on because this was a penalty for Jorge Masvidal. You arrived late at work. This is what you get right here. If you're late at work, this is his driver. And we had his driver on, and he came on, and he said, even though that looks really bad, he said he was fine, and he looks like he's sniveling and tough after the fact. He doesn't look great there, but regardless, he says it wasn't that big a deal.
Seems excessive. I mean,
And I began talking about John Jones because he did this the other day as well, and this is something that goes much differently, and I will set... he did it twice to him here. He's okay here, and I don't know why they would go again. It was not, now watch. Yes, he got him on the first
He's
shot.
like, oh, the first one didn't hurt?
Yes, but this,
I'll make sure the second one does.
yes, and then, of course, it's not just crutches. It's also that is going to hurt a great deal.
Oh, my God.
So are you guys okay now doing MVP? He will kick someone here for $1,000.
Well, first, I don't know if he's agreed to this, so we got to ask him.
Who's fronting the money?
Stugotz says he will do it for $1,000. I told him it's unwise for him to do that for $1,000.
Well, now that I've seen that video, it's up to $10,000.
What do you? But
John Jones had good ears.
we made a deal.
Yeah, you did.
There was a deal made. You said
Well,
you said $1,000.
Right, I'm changing the deal.
Greg offered for free before the show.
We've learned nothing since the pepper. Nothing. At all. I saw this wash upon my radar, and I was just like, this is a really bad idea, guys. This is a
I think
terrible
Tony's
idea.
our guy. He was the one before the
Tony's
show.
gotta
Tony
take
was
the
talking
kick.
about checking the kick.
Tony's got to take the kick.
Anyways, he will be here. He will be here in moments.
If I had the last name Page, I would have a middle name nickname that was more apropos. Instead of Michael Venom Page, it would be something like Michael Blank Page.
Michael turn the page.
Exactly, something like that. Yeah,
Right.
I think, because Venom and Page, it just doesn't really
Maybe
fit.
Woody.
Woody Page, that's not bad. That's pretty good.
Michael,
pretty good.
Michael Woody Page.
Woody Page. Yeah.
But if I was Michael Woody, I'd want to be Michael Woody Woodpecker.
the hell? What kind of a wig am I wearing?
The
there?
coterie.
I will join your cult.
Thank you. You're in the coterie.
It's not a cult. It's a social club. A
Yeah,
secret
easy to get
society
in.
of
It's
sorts.
Called PFPI.
Yeah. Mike would be a controversial ad to PFPI.
Really?
Yeah.
You're the only one that cares. You didn't want Michael's longtime girlfriend in it.
Well, they're not married yet. We're still trying to push that rock down the
Tie
road.
the knot, right?
Wait a minute. Are you saying that the only way into the fantasy football family is to marry your wayward youngest son?
Yes, but that's main PFPI.
He didn't want my daughter in it either.
I could
Right.
take a blood oath.
She hasn't married one of his sons.
Well, your daughter's in by blood.
But he scratches your back and you scratch his.
Something
Yeah.
out of 1800s royalty. He's bequeathing his son.
He wants
like
his
a-
son off the books. I mean,
We can take a blood oath. And that way the Ruiz family and the Cody families are
We could do
forever
that.
intertwined.
We could do that.
Doesn't the secret society admission membership seem extreme to you that what you have to pledge is love forever to his firstborn son to get into the gala where he wears an old leisure suit from the 80s
and then I'm like drinking a Kool-Aid by the
right.
end of it, and wearing Nikes on my way to heaven or wherever.
There you go. It's a royal family, PFPI.
coin toss.
Space.
It's America's royal family.
I mean, I'm so
Capital
worried about
letters.
artificial intelligence. Let's just go. I ain't here for a long time. I'm here for a
telling you,
good time.
man.
I'll join your
Me
cult.
too.
Greg, you worried about Kate at all? That's weird, huh? What's going on over there?
They're
in England?
photoshopped, those photos.
Yeah.
They are photoshopped.
Really?
That, yeah.
I hate all that stuff. I hate the fake Adam Schefter. I don't even like that there's fake experts out
This
there.
isn't the
It's
same as
ridiculous.
Adorn Schefter.
That's another thing that my dad discovered on this week's Greg Cody show. He discovered fake Twitter accounts.
I
only
wasn't
gotten worse.
aware. all of a sudden it really messed with my life for a minute because there's somebody who I thought was Adam Schefter reporting that the Dolphins have signed Tua. So I'm like,
Mookie Betts is a shortstop.
I got to drop what I'm doing and write a column, and then I find out it's a fake.
Stugotz is hiding in plain sight over there with audio-proof glass between us because he doesn't want any parts of offering to take a Michael Venom Page kick for $1,000. He made the choice recently, but doesn't want to actually do it. It's nice to see you. It was nice to watch you work against Kevin Holland. He's a veteran fighter. He's tough. He's respected by all. You're 22-2 in your division. We were talking before you came on. You're a bit. You must be a bit insane because I don't think people who do what you do for a living are sane. But how much damage would you do to him if you were trying to do damage to him with a leg kick and he was standing in front of you?
Well, the fight before this fight, I stole someone's kneecap basically with a kick. So that's a fully trained fighter. So I'm sure I would.
You stole his kneecap.
He's laughing. He's like,
Well, it is a bit crazy. I don't think people understand.
$25,000.
I don't think people understand. Your body is a weapon, correct?
Yes, definitely trained weapon.
And a trained weapon that does its most damage. Like if you had to damage someone the most with something of that ilk, what would you produce?
Well, I've damaged a few people. I think my most famous finish, I caved somebody's head in with a jump knee. So that's probably the worst thing that's
sounds painful.
It seems like a horror.
Yeah.
It seems like so does this sport choose you or did you choose it?
You know what, I'm going to say it chose me. Not to be fair, it's a bit of both. So martial arts separately, just being involved in martial arts is a family thing. My mum did it, my dad did it, my siblings all do it. So martial arts was just, that chose me. But in terms of going into a professional sport from there, I made the decision to go to mixed martial arts specifically.
How many brothers?
There's quite a few of us. There's 7 of us all together.
There must be legendary fight stories in your youth. What are the age differences? If you guys get into a fight in your youth and everyone's trained in the mixed martial arts.
To be fair, we started in kickboxing, and my sister's the oldest one, and nobody messes with her. So if we even start an argument, the second she walks into the room, it's game over.
Did anyone dare to mess with the family?
Nah, not really. You mess with one, you mess with all. So,
so when you cave
definitely
in,
not.
When you cave in someone's face afterwards, is there sorry about that? Or
yeah, no, of course. I always say we have a fight persona. That fight persona is you turn into something. You go to a dark place, or you turn into something that is an alter ego of yourself. But when you come back out, you're back to yourself. It's very different. So, obviously, when I'm going in there, you don't regret anything in that moment.
Can you explain this part to us, though? Are you talking about something primal there? You're talking about something that do you even recognize who? Well, now you've gotten comfortable with that person,
Yes.
but you're talking about a predator who is preying for money.
Oh, 100%. Where, to be fair, I think it's less about the money. It's just I always say just the experience of walking out into a cage, into a crowd, and facing an opponent and winning, that feeling of winning as well, it's a drug. It's a drug in itself. So we don't take away the money. I guarantee you the majority of people will still do it, that are in it at a high level. They'll still want to do that and then just have work at the end afterwards. But it's just there's just something about it that is just addictive.
So where do you keep the stolen kneecap?
We gave it back. So he's fixed it.
It's interesting the way you describe that because Ray Lewis described football as you don't pay me for Sundays. You get Sundays for free. Monday through Saturday is what you pay me for. The preparation is what you get paid for. You're saying the Coliseum spectacle shit. Can I be better than another man? And we're stripped down to nothing but our tools. You're saying that's the best a person can feel.
That's the best a person can feel. It's a very egotistical sport. most sports are, but this one is different. Somebody's really trying to take you out. It's not about a game that's being played. It's someone's trying to take you out, and there's a lot of ego involved. And yeah, we're just trying to be better than that person in front of us.
Do you sort of fancy yourself as a modern day professional hunter of humans?
It's a good way of looking at it. The thing is, I still see. I still see
He's
it.
Predator?
I mean, the question is crazy.
I mean, but he's 22-2 in the fighting sports. He's as good as there is at the top of I fight you, and he's saying it's not even for money. I fight you because I like the challenge of fighting 100%. You. I don't think you can beat me at this weight.
100%. No, it's a good way. I do enjoy it I do see it as a sport. I think I've done it so long now that I don't, even when I'm speaking to people about my performances, some people are looking at me like, what? You're trying to hurt somebody, but I don't. I see it as a game.
How does it work in everyday life with you? Because your hands and feet are lethal weapons, right? When somebody picks a fight with you who doesn't know who you are, you're not allowed to use those lethal weapons on the street, right?
Well, we are.
Do you?
Take it back. That's a bad question.
No, I didn't ask it right, apparently.
That one's wild.
Like, when you're not in the octagon, you can't get into a fight because you might kill somebody.
No, of course. The thing is, the good thing about being trained is, and like I said, being in the cage is a massive part of your ego that you have to use. Second you leave the cage, it's a massive part of your ego that you don't care to use anymore. We have to do that every single day. I get to challenge myself with my teammates every single day. Going out to somebody, I'm usually the guy that will talk everything down. Oh, come on, man, that's fine. I'll buy you a drink, guys. It's not that serious. Like, I'll calm everything down because I have nothing to prove. I've done it before, and somebody's found out after the fact who I was, and he's like, "I'm so sorry." That he was like, "I didn't even realize you." I was like, "No, it's no problem. We don't lead with ego," and you find that a lot with fighters. We exert that button a lot in the gym, so we don't need to use it.
That's
outside.
interesting. You're talking about the emotional drain of it too.
Yes.
By the time you leave there, because you're fighting other people who fight for a living,
Yep.
You don't even want to do. You're more work.
Tired.
I got to do more work.
Tired. I'm out here to have fun now. Right now, this is my downtime. So I don't need to cross into that.
I want to talk about the alter ego though, because I don't think anyone listening to this quite understands the mixture of fear, courage, everything required to, I'm going to fight in front of a bunch of people. Mm-hmm. I've trained for months, and so have you,
Yep.
and now I just need to be better than you. And one wrong move, and I'm embarrassed by the internet for a long time because I've gotten knocked out, or I've gotten my kneecap stolen, or I've got my face caved in. Can you explain to me the mentality? Because I don't think any of us understand what that is.
Yeah, it is really difficult. And I think a lot of people, this is why, I think this is the difference between being at the top and being amongst the numbers. Because if you can't perform in that moment, because there's certain guys that we have in our gym, and I've seen and heard stories about in other gyms that are exceptional in the gym. Unbelievable in the gym, but then when you go out to the crowd and it drains you, and they just can't perform in the same way that we see every day in the gym. There's something else that you need. That you have to dig deep. You have to be comfortable being on show and comfortable with exactly that. These things that could go wrong. And I always go through a phase of I allow my negative thoughts to come through, like, man, I could get knocked out, and especially with my style, people love to hate my style. They love to love it, but they also love to hate it because it's showy. People don't always like the show off guy. So, I can get knocked out. People are going to be, the comments and this and that and that. But I allow myself to go through that. And then I'm like, no, but I'm the guy, man. I'm that guy. I can do this. And then I finish on that. It's like I start with a negative and finish. But instead of trying to avoid it, because sometimes it stores up inside you, and then it just makes you struggle. When you get into the cage, let's say you get hit once, and then all those negative thoughts start to come in that moment. And now it's hard to avoid while this guy.
You've reached real confidence.
Oh, yes.
I mean, that's bliss. That's for a fighter.
Yes.
That is real confidence. Doesn't mean it's not fearless, but for you to be aware of what the fear looks like and be like, yeah, that's normal, but I'm better than this person.
Yep. And everyone has to have their own process. And, I can explain mine, but it might not work for you. You need to understand yourself. And it's been years. It's taken me many, many years to understand the process for me. And I feel like I've found, where it's worked, and I execute as best as I can.
MVP, I was in the building on Saturday night When you came out, the Undertaker music, ding, everything went purple.
UFC, and then lights go dark. Then the light goes on back in the cage, and my figure is standing in the cage, and everyone's like, "Wait a minute, they're supposed to, what's going on here? He's in the cage already." You know, everyone's just like, "What?" Everyone's cheering. Okay, yeah. And it's the intro, the Undertaker song. Then the lights go switch off again right as the track drops, and then I'm in the same position. Lights off, lights back on, and I'm exactly the same position. It looks like I've just done a magic trick, and I've just switched, and I've just randomly Undertaker style just come from one place to the other, and then that same walkout would have come. The music drops, and I would have. But they were like, "Chill, it's your first time, man. Just relax."
It's like, they don't want you to become too big a star. They want the prices to be reasonable. I mean, you've noticed what a lot of people in your sport have, that if you have some showman in you, if you can talk a good game, if you can embrace the marketing of it, and in some ways be disrespectful to the reasons you chose the mixed martial arts originally, you can sell a fight by disrespecting everything you actually care about here, because I'm guessing you have some purity of warrior spirit.
Oh, 100%. Like, you strip everything away. I started in Laogar Kung Fu. It's a very respectful style. You walk in, you have to bow to walk into a room, you bow to leave the room, you bow to your fellow students, you bow to your instructor. Everything is show respect first, yeah? And then later on, as I'm doing the competitions, I start to learn how to be creative and entertain. But the style of kickboxing I did was called freestyle kickboxing. It's like going into a sports hall and there's just matted areas everywhere and everybody's competing for attention. So there was like an unwritten rule where, you try to show off a little bit without, and no, there was no disrespect. Everybody it was just a thing that everybody would try to do. And it got to the point where the second I stepped on the mat, because they knew I had antics in me, the whole competition stopped, because the referees wanted to see what I was going to do. The other fighters wanted to, and they're ready to fight, but they're like, no, I want to see him. And it got to that level. And all I'd done was, when I crossed into the mixed martial arts world, I just continued. I said to myself, if I'm going to do this, I have to do it in my style, my way. Otherwise, I just don't want to do it.
Michael, if I came at you looking for a fight and I was armed with a pencil, how long would it take you to kill me?
Is it sharpened?
Yes.
Yeah, sharp pencil, yeah?
Yeah, sharp.
It's as sharp as a pencil can get. Yes.
Okay. 1 second.
What?
To kill
1 second?
It'd be a head kick
I have a
shot.
pencil.
How exactly?
He would be dead within the seconds? It wouldn't take you 9 seconds?
You're using the pencil against him.
No. You keep the pencil.
Wow.
It makes it
very nice of you.
Somewhat more even.
Non-fighter.
What if he had 2 pencils?
Now,
How?
2 seconds.
A second per pencil.
Thank you. Congratulations. I don't think people generally understand how difficult it is to do what you guys do. I won't even ask you about how poorly they paid you in your last fight, because I wish you had full freedom to negotiate in a way that gets you guys paid better than you're paid.
No, here's the thing for me, and everyone say, do you find that you took too long to get to the UFC? And I feel like always say my path was chosen for me, and it's chosen for a reason. And because of the noise that I made outside, it allowed me to be paid really well coming into. So
because
I'm in a good place.
you come over from Bellator and you had established your star,
Exactly.
you're a value who was able to come up another level because you're as skilled as they have in the UFC.
Exactly. So I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
Thank you for being on with us. We appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you guys. It's been amazing. Thank you guys.
We need to get to Stugotz's winners and losers from yesterday. We're going to keep getting sidetracked because we're going to lament the death with finality of Deadspin. We're going to talk to Craig Robinson, who is very funny. And I've got some more football stuff to get to. Again, Mookie Betts is a shortstop now.
Crazy.
Greg Cote wants prosthetic ears. I don't know if Billy got out all his magic takes. Did you, or was there more there that you had to say on magic? I know.
Well, we didn't even get to it. We were just talking about how there's a magician that has been suspended from the Magic Castle, but it's fine. We started talking about the secret society, and I'm happy kind of with the way that it went. The coterie.
But what about? I'm glad that you're happy with the way that it went, but I felt like we never got to what it is that you wanted to talk about.
I am fascinated as how a magician gets banned, or illusionist illusionist. I don't want to
No,
disparage.
his name's Murray the Magician, so I
Okay.
think it's fine
Well,
that
I
he goes by Magician.
Well, they're still making Murrays. That might just because Murray the Magician sounds better than Murray the Illusionist.
Doesn't roll off the tongue.
Yeah.
Ian the Illusionist, that would be good.
I like where your head's at.
Yeah.
So what did he do?
Well, Murray the Magician went on TikTok with, I believe, his wife, and they were revealing how certain magic tricks were done, and the Magic Castle was not happy with that. And they said, you know what, Murray the Magician? Banned from the Magic Castle.
Good magician never reveals his secrets. You know that, right?
Well,
Never.
Murray's argument was that these are like popular magic tricks that can be purchased on Amazon and stuff like that. Like, yeah, you could buy
You can't
these.
purchase magic, Billy.
We should probably
Don't tell
endeavor.
Murray, not me. I'm not the one.
We should
I'm just-
endeavor to
don't
get
shoot
Murray the
messenger.
Magician on. We should endeavor to get Murray the Magician on. But also, when you're a part of the Magic Castle, it's an esteemed group. Many magicians work their entire careers and they don't achieve the heights of that. You are basically a caretaker of the great arts. And you have to protect the industry at all costs. And I think the Magic Castle was well within their rights to do this.
I have seen some videos, I don't know if it's Murray the Magician or another, where I was fascinated by how quickly and well somebody gave up the magic tricks on hand stuff, on cards, and they were illusions that were like, oh, that's easy, and it ruined the whole thing for me. Really, you harm the industry if you give away too many of the secrets. Because it looked really easy. I'm like, oh, I can't believe I fell for that. I was wondering. It was great to have that mystery of not. I felt like it was in the other hand. How did it move hands? Oh, he just put it behind his hand.
Dan, now you're doing it.
Sleight of hand.
Be careful.
Yeah.
You're going to
It
be
is a
banned from
sleight of
Magic
hand.
Castle.
Okay.
His argument was it's not like, quote, it's not like I'm getting David Copperfield's tricks or Chris Angel's shin limbs and going, here's how they do it. I don't know what that is. Yeah, but he didn't
he
do
just
that.
blew one of the great illusions. What is even in his apology? He's blowing magic. Murray.
Well, in fairness, we should have Murray come on and defend,
Yes.
You can't
Have a
give away
Murray
the
on.
secrets. You can't be in the secret code. He's out here advocating for secret clubs. And secret clubs have rules. And the Magic Club, I believe, one of the great rules, maybe the only rule, it can be even unspoken, is you don't tell people how you do the tricks.
Right. It's a closed society. Like when you're in the coterie, there's a code, there's an initiation, and all of this stuff is very secretive.
But if you sell the secrets, though, that's a heady play, right?
Yeah, you can't do that.
I think the
Murray.
play that you do is because obviously magic industry is very competitive, right? I mean, we were just in Las Vegas. There's magicians, all kinds of shows all over the place, right? So
It's hard to stand out.
If I'm Murray the Magician and I figure out David Copperfield's tricks, bet your bottom dollar I'm going out there and telling everyone exactly how it's done. Then David Copperfield can figure out my tricks and then try to ruin it for me. But if I'm Murray the Magician, I'm out there squealing like a pig, telling everybody how everything is done so that people can go to my magic shows trying to figure out my magic.
Well, can you guys help me with a portion of how the business works? Because I have maintained that being a poet in the modern age is a really, really hard way to make a living. Not a lot of corporations hiring poets.
It's honestly irresponsible.
Magician seems really hard for me to make a living. I don't think there are more than like 100 of them.
MMA fighter. It's kind of in the same.
What about the tarot card readers?
No, that's fair.
That's a hack.
Big year last year.
Anytime I see like a building, it's like, come get your.
That's different.
That's
Tarot
very
cards
different.
are killing it.
That's real.
Magic. Making a career out of magic. How often can you do that?
There are certain schools and universities that I feel like should be held liable for having bogus bachelors and degrees that they give out. You should be responsible when you're taking that much money from someone and be like, look, guys, our poetry bachelors, you're not going to do anything with that. We're going
Would
to
you
have
like
to
one
cancel
in
this
magic?
program.
Would you like one in magic?
We're going to discontinue the magic program because it's not going to pay.
All right, put it on the poll, please, Juju, at LeBatard Show. Harder way to make a living, poetry or magic?
I feel like poets peaked in the 19th century. At least we still have active musicians.
Dead Poet Society, Greg.
Magicians.
Yes.
Magicians.
What did I
Fun.
say?
Yeah.
Musicians.
Oh, yeah, that too. Yeah.
Right.
There's more musicians than magicians.
There's some musicians that are poets,
Yeah, that's a good point.
but very few magicians
Bob
that are
Dylan.
poets.
How do they saw in half that person on the stage, though?
We should ask Murray.
Yeah. How do they do
Sullivan,
that?
do this next week. Have the magician come on with Greg because I feel like this is a Greg guest. If
The
I've
Greg
ever heard
Cody
one.
Show
Yeah.
featuring Greg Cody. Go do it
Yeah,
over
I-
there.
I
Go
like
talk
that,
to
yeah.
Murray the Magician.
We love guests named Murray. No matter what they do or what they're talking about, who they are.
Never had a Murray on.
If your name is Murray, you have a home on the Greg Cody Show podcast.
Murray! Hey.
Coterie, too.
Thank you.
Just keep magicians and illusionists in high regard. This might be the only chance we have against the artificial intelligence.
You have like 4 or 5 that could do it in Vegas, and then how much demand is there for touring magic acts all over? Like I'm dead ass serious when I ask you guys how many people are making a living right now as magicians.
The Mind Freak.
Chris Angel's been.
David Blaine.
I don't know if he's a magician anymore, Dan. He's just like a guy that
does stunts now.
Yeah, it's like
Copperfield's still
extreme.
killing it. That guy made it. Like you talk about haves and have-nots.
Is he still killing?
Is
he still with us?
Oh,
he has a residency.
I
for sure.
think
He's still with us.
Copperfield was on the side of a building.
Yep.
That name. Go read what he owns. Talk about haves and have-nots. Like there is a poor underclass of magicians who are working at your kid's birthday party, and then Copperfield's buying islands.
He owns magic. I mean,
didn't he make the Statue of Liberty disappear?
He did
on TV.
Yes,
that's wild.
On
and
television.
there were like eyewitnesses that said it was gone.
So
that is scale, my friend.
I Googled how many magicians are there in the world, and it says there's 30,000 to 50,000 magicians worldwide. But I also see here how many magicians are there in the U.S., and it says more than 219.
Is that something from a bygone era? The network television special for a magician?
Useless one.
What did Billy just say?
Very specific.
Tony, that is Billy pretending to produce the show by just looking up
You
something
asked
on
how
the
many
internet.
people make more than 209. That's what it says.
There was a writer's strike.
Zippia.com.
There was a writer's strike. We could have greenlit all these illusionist specials on network television. They used to mean something. From Evel Knievel to Chris Angel, getting a network special. No, I'm saying stunt people used to get network specials. Those tentpole.
Those were made for television, wonderful, gather around your TV events.
Yeah. Do you remember The Masked Magician?
I don't.
Oh, he had a couple of network specials on Fox where he was doing this, and it was just really harmful to the great art.
What was the name of the long snapper who managed to, it's hard to make a career as a long snapper, but as a magician, him parlaying that, he was Kelsey before the Kelseys. That guy made a magic career out of being a long snapper. We had him in studio. We fawned all over him. He seemed a lot happier.
John Dornbus.
Yes.
Yeah. Male-dominated industry. Magic.
Yeah,
and long snapping.
Like 90 to 10. Yeah, it's true.
Both of them, actually. Speaking of magic, you guys explain to me how it is that Jalen Hurts looks like a professional quarterback and a guy who squats 1 million pounds when he has a goatee, but then he loses his goatee and he becomes Jason.
Look, I mean, it happens to the best of us, Dan. You know how it is.
Hurts.
You're trimming your beard.
I don't recognize him. He looks like a dad with the thick eyebrows. Like he looks like somebody's father. He doesn't look like a young quarterback.
I like where Tony's going. This wasn't intentional.
Yeah, you miss it sometimes. You're like, ooh, this side's a little uneven. I got to just redo the whole thing.
I trust Jalen Hurts with a goatee. It's to be my quarterback. This other person I do not trust.
Totally different guy.
You can't.
He was forced to grow it back because the reaction to his clean-shaven look was so toxic. Like Doja Cat considered leaving Instagram.
Let's be honest about this, Tony. Let me put this back up here.
She'll
Tony.
be back, by the way.
This is
it's
what's
always
happened
something
here.
with her.
I'm not afraid to say it. Maybe Tony's afraid to say it. I don't know if he'll side with me on this or not. Without the goatee, he looks Dominican.
Yeah, he does.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, 100%.
Yeah.
That's not Jalen Hurts.
Can I agree?
If Jalen Hurts were to sit next to us in this room and you told me that this was him, let's get
My
that.
grandmother is Dominican. That dude's been over for dinner.
He's eating mango for sure.
At
Salami.
4:30 p.m.
You're saying without it, he's Jaleng.
She's an angel. She's going to turn 95.
I'll tell him que lo que, tigre, dime.
Yes, that's what I'm saying, and that is a less trusted quarterback. I don't have. Martinez played for a while for Nebraska.
There were
Then
4
went to
Martinezes
Kansas,
that played for a while at Nebraska.
That was the same one. But
Just change the
I
name.
cannot trust. I cannot give a big contract to the Dominican quarterback because I have no proof that the Dominican quarterback can be good.
I guarantee you he's got a hose.
Oh, whoa.
I'm fine, Chooch. Thank you. You guys, get your minds out of the gutters, man. Not everything's a thing.
I want to also look at, real quick here, Lane Johnson. I don't know if you guys saw this because
his dick is probably big, too.
Here is Lane Johnson, who
if
blocks.
they're of a certain height, you just, vintage quarterback,
You're saying
6'6". Yeah, 6'6", Usually you can start drawing conclusions.
The Philadelphia Eagles back.
Unless he did steroids.
The Philadelphia Eagles
That's a testicle
backfield.
thing, though, isn't it?
No, it happened. Penis size too.
Oh.
This means Tony has a hose.
Speaking of steroids, here's Lane Johnson.
Or used to.
He is walking in the gym with 705 pounds. Here is video of Lane Johnson. This is what the Philadelphia Eagles, it'll be Saquon Barkley, it'll be Jalen Hurts, and this is Lane Johnson. That's 705 pounds.
I thought that was Rosillo at first.
Damn. Put on some pants, mister.
Why is Rosillo doing that in his underwear? Why are those? Those are just straight underwear. Those are not shorts.
Yeah, that's what Rosillo does every time he subtweets us.
What is happening with those are straight underwear. Those are just, that's not, why does he need to work? You can't put a pair of shorts on?
You can't put big shorts on when you're doing farmer carries like that.
Yeah, you're
You
trying to
gotta
show
go
off the
small.
quads.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
almost looks like those are shorts that are tucked in a little.
Yeah, you got to roll them up. Let the people see the quads that he's working on. That's incredible.
And so now Saquon Barkley leaves New York, and Tiki Barber has said that he's dead to me.
Who cares?
Because he left to Philadelphia.
No one ever alive to him?
Rivalries matter.
Tiki Barber, you're dead to me. Okay. All right.
The
I
back
would
and
have
forth.
texted him back. Okay.
I'm not even kidding you. This is how it went. This for modern media is perfect. Tiki says to Saquon that. Saquon says, you've been a hater since I've been here. Don't smile to my face when I see you. And you know what Tiki said? I'm quoting. Be that way.
Yeah.
Wow. Clever.
He says, I like Saquon. Be that way. Fine. He actually said, fine, be that way. I know that a lot of people now in the modern media, Stugots, are afraid of athletes coming into the space and are threatened by athletes coming into the modern media space. But I remember the first time I felt like something was a threat to journalism because young people liked it and it was doing things much differently than traditional sports journalism was doing it. I remember blogs being the first threat to traditional sports journalism, and Deadspin was the biggest of those blogs, the most revolutionary of those blogs. Dangerous, did good journalism, but also did dirty things, was on the cusp of cutting edge, sort of how do we attract young people and change the way information is delivered. And so I actually felt sad yesterday, even though Julie DeCaro is basically running zombie Deadspin. She's been trying to keep the spirit of that alive for many years, and it's hard, and there's a lot of defense, corporate defense being played against her. And we wanted to have Julie on to both respect what Deadspin was once upon a time, good and bad, because they did plenty of bad too, but they were groundbreaking. They were pioneering, and yesterday a European company bought it, fired all the staff, and so I wanted to talk to Julie about what happened. Julie, thank you for making the time for us.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on.
So tell us about the history here and how heartbreaking the details of yesterday were to you personally.
Yeah, it was heartbreaking. It's a good word for it. I was a huge fan of Deadspin from its iteration. I came up through blogs as well. That's how I made my way into mainstream media. So, or I guess, as mainstream media as Deadspin ended up. It was tough. I mean, for those of us that really loved Deadspin and cared about the kind of work that they did, I think about Diana Moskowitz's work. She was one of the first person I know who would go to the police and actually get the records when an athlete was accused of harming someone and, put those up for the whole world to see so that nobody could sort of take an athlete who'd been violence against women and minimize what he had done. That kind of stuff. I mean, Drew Maygary's Why Your Team Sucked was great. And, by the time I got to Deadspin in 2019, I'd always wanted to work there, but it did feel like being, like you're getting to a party right as everyone's just kind of starting to make their way out. That was sort of the feeling there. And I don't know that management ever really understood what made Deadspin work in the first place, why it was so beloved, why it had such a dedicated audience. And so for, the last 4 years, 3.5 years, however long I was there were a few of us that were trying to still do that kind of work, but, obviously met with some resistance.
Well, speak on that, please. Not some resistance, right? Now it can be told, can it not? How much resistance?
Yeah, I mean, what I would say is that what's happening at Deadspin, I don't think is unique to Deadspin. I think that, we've sort of been singled out as, the example because of what happened in 2019 when the entire staff quit in protest. But, it's a thing of Google algorithms ruling everything, of being constantly encouraged to write not about what you want to write about and what's interesting, but or what you think your readers will find interesting, but what's trending on Google. It's a lot of SEO stuff. It's a lot of, you can't swear in headlines because it affects our Google ranking. You can't do this because it affects our Google ranking. Google really is sort of running the show these days. And I'm not sure that the general public understands to the extent that that's affecting what you read in the news that you're getting. Because, every outlet now has an SEO guru who's sitting there and is constantly looking at what's happening on Google and how we're ranking and why we aren't ranking well. And those are the people really that are sort of calling the shots. We would sit in meetings with management and be told constantly, why didn't you write about this? Why didn't you write about that? This story did 1 million hits for this site. Why didn't you write about that? And so it really became a game of how many readers can I get to read this rather than good journalism, which is what I think many of us went there intending to try to do.
All right. So Deadspin, I'm not sure a lot of people would associate it necessarily with good journalism, even though I do. So I would ask you this question as you're trying to or dedicated your career in spirit to trying to protect a certain thing. As you see a lot of disinformation spreading and corporations buying journalism and knocking out local news and the algorithms dictating what information is spread, how close are we to propaganda? Because something like Deadspin simply can't exist today. It's going to get overrun by the algorithms.
Yeah, I think we're already there. I mean, we've seen it all over the place. I mean, there are things, I mean, I'm off Twitter now for the most part, but I mean, you see things there all the time that people take as the God's honest truth and it's false. And it comes out a few days later that it's false. But by that point, the damage has already been done. So, you've got these VC guys coming into journalism, seeing it as a profit-making enterprise. And they come in and what equity firms do is strip away resources, layoffs, everything to squeeze every last dime out of a company before they sell it for its parts. And I mean, Geo Media has lost Lifehacker, they've lost Jezebel, they've lost now Deadspin. Everything's being sold off for its parts, and it's not just happening at Deadspin; it's happening across the media landscape. I think that Katie Britt response to the State of the Union address, where she, completely misrepresented a story of a woman that has supposedly been trafficked. It wasn't even a journalist that discovered that; it was a TikToker who was the person who looked into it, because there just aren't journalists to do these jobs anymore. And you're being much more likely to be told, hey, we need a slideshow on, the 50 best wide receivers of all time, rather than doing something that might actually matter, that might actually be something that goes towards the truth, that exposes something there's too many people out there that just want to click through slideshows, and everyone complains about them, but everyone clicks on them. So that's what the powers that be want everyone to do.
50 wide receivers of all time, you say?
I got the room's attention there. Let me
Don't ask Chris Carter. You're going to forget Calvin.
Let me throw a little bit of chum in the water here. Tyrod Taylor's going to the Jets.
Ooh, backing up Aaron Rodgers. Interesting.
Mike Gesicki, Cincinnati Bengal, 1-year contract. Mike Gesicki.
Not bad. I like that.
All right. Just keeping you guys.
Where's Julian Edelman? Is he top 50?
Did you know that Austin Hooper is still under 30?
What?
Get out of here.
He's 29.
Julie, I'm curious because this part is, you just sort of skipped over it. So just quickly, the history. Entire staff quit in protest.
Yeah, so in 2019, when Geo Media bought The Onion, bought Deadspin, moved Deadspin to Chicago, Deadspin used to do all kinds of non-sports related things. So they would write about Trump. They did, 50 things people put in their butts this year, all these amazing content that didn't have anything to do with sports.
Another good category, though.
50,
another good category.
Where's that Dune popcorn bucket?
Another category that's really strong. I can't even argue with the journalism of that. I'll click on that every time.
50 slides.
You
Wow.
click through 50 slides of that, right? I would. So, in my understanding, and I wasn't there for this, was that the mandate was, and what I was told when I started was, you can write about anything you want, but it has to have a tangential relationship to sports. Again, I wasn't there until in 2019, so I just know what I've read from the people who were there. But my understanding is that the day after that mandate came down, they did an entire front page that had nothing to do with sports as a protest. And that resulted in their EIC getting fired, and then everyone quit in protest. So Deadspin was shut down for, a good, 6 months, something like that. Everyone was telling everyone else, you don't work there, don't work for this guy, don't write for Deadspin, which I was on board with. I mean, I thought it was an incredibly principled stance. And then the pandemic hit. And so suddenly I didn't have a radio gig. They were resurrecting Deadspin. They reached out to me the day it was announced that my radio show was canceled. And, there were people there. There were journalists there, Jesse Spector, Sam Fells, who I really respected their writing and their work. And I thought, well, I've got 2 kids in college. I don't have a ton of options. So I was part of that, resurrection of Deadspin that's been going on since early 2020. During that time, Jim Spanfeller became involved with the site. You can Google his name.
Please, let me stop you there. Who is Jim Spanfeller? Because this is a person who basically made it so you couldn't do anything but cover sports, and not particularly well, correct?
Yeah, I would say that's true. I was never told that there was anything. That's not true. I was told there were things I couldn't write about. And basically that had to do with making fun of the decisions we'd used for AI, that they were using AI at Deadspin. So Jim Spanfeller is a member of a private equity guy from Great Hill Partners. I know he was at Forbes before this. I don't know his whole history, but he came in and took over as CEO of Geo. So that's, Deadspin, Jezebel, Gawker, Quartz, Gawker's gone, Quartz, Jalopnik, Eater, all those sites, The Onion. And, quickly, I think his way of doing things became the way that it was his way or the highway. You're hauled into traffic meetings and, asked questions about why isn't your site performing better? And you'd say, well, the site's crammed with ads. People are complaining about it. I can't even read on my article on mobile because there's too many ads. Nobody wanted to hear that. We're going to change the whole homepage. We're going to give it a whole different look, and that's not a great idea. The fans are really, loyal and dedicated to this iteration of the site. That doesn't matter. More slideshows, more clickable things, more things to get people to click on, more SEO words and headlines. That was the order of the day, and journalism came second to all that.
But you also, one of the most popular posts in Deadspin history was headline, Jim Spanfeller is a herb.
Yeah.
Huh.
With pictures of him looking like a loser as well. So you were going after management there, and understandably trying to protest from within inside the machine. I want to play for you some sound from season 2 of Succession. It's Kendall walking into the company Volter, which seems based on Gawker. You tell me how accurate this felt.
Some of you may have noticed servers are down, and we're setting a satellite office on 7. And I'm afraid I have to inform you, you are all dismissed. Yeah, you're all fired. So if you can leave your laptops where they are and hand in your passes, security will be coming around now. Been through everything you've shown me. Food and weed. Those are the only 2 verticals driving revenue, so we're folding them in. And you're all free to leave.
What was yesterday like?
It was kind of like that. We had a little bit more. Look, anyone working in journalism these days feels like the sword of Damocles is hanging over your head every day when you go to work. Sports Illustrated, Vice, like you name it, you're watching mass layoffs and you're watching basically the implosion of journalism in real time. So when we got a note at 11:30 that there was a mandatory meeting for Deadspin and everyone had to be there, we were sort of like, wow, this is exactly what happened to Jezebel right before they shut the site down. So then it was 30 minutes of abject terror. We jump on this Zoom call. Our deputy editorial director is there. She's been the one who's dropping the hammer on everybody. HR is there. So at that point, we pretty much knew the writing was on the wall. By the time the meeting was over, it probably took 15 minutes. We were out of Slack. We were locked out of, our email, locked out of Google Drive, where a lot of our documents were. People are frantically trying to archive all their stories. I think that Succession nailed it. I always thought that was based on BuzzFeed, but could be Gawker as well, because it's happening everywhere. And so it just sort of felt like it's our turn. Everyone knew this was going to happen sooner or later.
I know no one cares about this, but it's a bummer, man.
The NFL news, Dan, it never stops. According to Diana Rossini, the great Diana Rossini, Titans running back Derrick Henry has had a conversation with the Ravens. I love a good conversation.
Conversation has been
Continue
had.
yours, by the way.
Yeah, you don't want any more of it. What else do we need to know here? Just what's the punctuation you would like us to put on this? Because Deadspin was it was a fun, wild meteor that was dangerous, did, like I said, some things wrong. I could chronicle them, but they were trying to they were trying to carry the spirit of muckraking journalism in the modern time. So what words would you leave us with, Julie?
I think that people need to care where their news comes from. When you're hearing that, ESPN is in talks to, or that NFL wants to acquire part of ESPN, things like that. I mean, people need to realize if you don't like the news you're getting, or you don't like things that are happening, it's because everything is being congealed into like one media company that is in bed with all the leaks. And so, people would say to us on Deadspin all the time, where are the stories about, the owners who are secretly racist? Where are the investigations into sexual harassment at? Well, first of all, journalists don't have time to do those stories anymore because everyone is having to crank out 2 or 3 stories every day. So you simply don't have time to do that investigation. But you have to care where your news comes from. And it can't just be the NFL sending, Ian Rappaport and Adam Schefter in there to cover things when they are doing a different kind of journalism than what I was raised to do. And I think that you need to care if the teams are in bed with the media outlets, if the people in bed with, or people who own the media outlets don't care about journalism, only care about clicks, it's getting increasingly difficult to find places to go where that isn't the case. And unfortunately, it's what's happened at Sports Illustrated, at Vice. It's happened in a million places. It's been all over the news. It's hard because people just don't seem to care about journalism anymore. And I really fear, not just for sports, but for the country where we're going, if people don't
care only enough to hate it.
Yeah.
The NFL news never stops. Julie just mentioned Adam Schefter, and Adam Schefter is reporting Marcus Mariota is now a Commander. Him and Sam Howell. You know what happens, Dan, when you have 2 quarterbacks? You know what it means, right? You don't have one.
Sam Howell this year.
Julie takes too many sacks. Julie, thank you for being on with us. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Dan.
Care to share with the class?
Dan Levitate.
Just trying to come up with top 5 athletes that can own a match.
All right, so I'm gonna let people see what's been happening here because I need the audience. I need the audience to understand what was happening, what the talent I work with on Tuesday. You want to talk about magic. What we do on Tuesdays is magic. If you saw it, if you just heard it privately trying to huff and puff and get off the ground. Stugots has been trying for 3 segments to have top 5 athletes who connote magic. His list sucks. All he had was Art Shell, and he's like, I need help, Cody. And so Cody was useless. For 3 segments, they've been going back and forth. And finally, Stugotz says to me, Dan, I'll have it for you tomorrow. I can't get it to you today. It's too hard. 5 athletes who connote magic.
Not magic, a magic trick.
Yeah.
That is much more difficult. Okay. I am telling you.
All right. I don't doubt that. But if you had heard what was happening, grumbled under the wheezing coughing of Cody, it's Dan Levitate.
Yeah, we were workshopping.
You weren't workshopping anything. It was just you were workshopping. The 2 of you were just like, you know how you go to
Scott Hatterberg.
You go to a Sunday.
Pokey Reese.
Frank Ledger Domain.
He disappeared.
You know how you go to let's say you go to a Sunday brunch, and at the highest, at the table where they're cutting up the prime rib. What I get on Tuesdays is Cody and Stugotz just cutting up a giant pile of camel. Just slicing.
How would you like your shit? Well done? Medium rare?
It's the magic trick of Tuesdays.
Al Abracadabra.
Oh, wow.
That's a good one. Not a trick, though.
Nice.
A lot of football still going on.
Brad Hand.
There you go.
Sleight of hand.
Frank Hocus
Great
Pocus.
when you have to follow it up with an explanation.
You stepped all over his Frank Hocus Pocus show.
Yeah.
Really.
Do it
Frankie
again.
That's
Hocus.
a damn shame.
Bill Occult.
Ross Taro.
Ooh, I like that. Now you're thinking. He's on board.
Now
He's
we're playing the
workshopping
game,
with
boys.
us. Workshopping it.
Do me a favor here, please, because I want to escalate the flames as high as they go on this Saquon Barkley Tiki Barber beef, which is one of the dumbest. If we're talking about the apocalypse, the earth ending, and AI consuming us, this one is the greatest. Running back from 20 years ago gets into it says, you're dead to me to Saquon Barkley. Barkley says, you've been a hater since I got here. He's like, what are you talking about? I've never said anything but nice things about you. But what's happening with Saquon is just this. My position used to matter. I've used my legs all my life to get a lot of money. They don't want me in New York. It's terrible that I got J-Ball fired and Daniel Jones can't play. Put me behind Jalen Hurts, that great Dominican quarterback, and I will tush-push my way to where the Kelseys are because it's hard playing football for the New York Football Giants. But if you want someone who understands how unreasonable it is to work at that position in New York, Tiki Barber is one of the few in the world who can tell you that if you don't produce at that position in that city, you'll get Don LaGreca doing something like this to an offensive lineman from this year who was blocking for Saquon Barkley, who now goes to Philadelphia where he can run behind Lane Johnson in his underwear.
They're having technical issues.
Technical FUs?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that a Freudian slip?
They've got me Lane Johnson
They got
back
Lane
in his
Johnson.
underwear.
Right, there you go.
But they did. That was a technical FU from the video staff.
I meant that how I said it.
Zay Flowers.
Oh, wow.
That's a good one.
That's great. Yeah.
It's going to have to wait till tomorrow. You're going to have to wait till tomorrow.
The NFL news. It never stops. Dan, Tom Pelissero. Still doing it, huh? He has Joe Mixon signing with the Texans. How about that?
So there's
the rich get richer.
We may need some clarification on this because the report was that Joe Mixon was released, but now there are people whispering that this might actually be a trade between the Bengals and the Texans.
It may be, but I want that Don LaGreca sound of what it is like to be a running back who doesn't produce for an offensive lineman who doesn't produce, who gets the rabid rage of the bearded, the bearded and acidic LaGreca.
The person that's condemning, commenting on my performance, what does he do? Flip hot dogs and hamburgers somewhere? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I'd cut his ass. I would. How dare you? How dare you? These people pay your salary. They pay an obnoxious amount of money to park, an obnoxious amount of money for PSLs to sit there and watch this pap, and you call them hamburger flippers? What, you're so much better? I'd rather have a guy that's flipping hamburgers blocked than your piece of garbage ass. Who the hell are you to talk to fans like that? You piece of garbage. I hate when players do that. You're not above us. What, because you happen to play a sport? You make them, you're better than me? You're better than the people that pay your salary? These Giant fans were here before you, and they'll be here after your sorry ass is cut. What a piece of human trash. And I don't want to hear some apology. I don't want to hear, oh, I was taken out of context. I didn't mean, I don't want to hear, done. I would cut his fat ass. Oh, if I'm John Mara, I call him into the office and say, you were a first-round pick, but you're not worth anything. You don't talk to our fans that way. You don't talk to me that way. You are out of a job. You should boo him. If you see him in the mall at Willowbrook, boo his ass. If you see him on the DMV, boo him. Don't stop booing him. If he goes to the Pro Bowl, boo him. If he wins a Super Bowl, boo his sorry ass. Screw that guy. Oh, I mean, that angers me. We're not nobody. Flipping, but how do you condescend to people that pay to watch you play? Poorly, I might add.
Really bad.
Oh, I hate players like that.
I thought it was going to end.
Them.
I was going to say.
Totally reasonable.
New York Drive Time Radio, man.
Nothing like it.
That.
The NFL news. It never stops, Dan. Jordan Schultz from the Bleacher Report is reporting Jameis Winston to the Browns.
Little backup. Everyone watch Mike's reaction here.
Mike? Hey, I mean, this does fill a need. They are losing a quarterback that throws about 5 interceptions a game.
Jameis.
Naheem Hines, too. Not that I'm paying attention.
I love free
Back from a jet ski injury, by the way.
Is Flacco just out there?
Yeah.
Wow.
Patriots, maybe.
Some team's going to win the lottery.
Nobody wants to play for the Patriots.
Oh, Flacco will play anywhere.
I don't think so. No one wants to play for the Patriots.
Jameis to the Patriots would have been great, right, Greg?
Yeah. Who do they have now that Mac is gone. Do
This
they
is
have
the new
anybody?
and unimproved
Do
Dan
they-
Le Batard Show with the Stugots. Gamble on by DraftKings.
Yesterday on the show, Stugotz, I believe we had one of the most disrespectful, blasphemous things said toward me, about me, on the show by people who work with us. During the 7-hour Oscar extravaganza, and I will thank the audience again for making that a giant success. I will thank Ben Lyons, Adnan Virk, David Sampson, and a cast of a whole lot of people here who on Sunday just rose up because we wanted to try a different thing and produced something.
I'm Jeffrey Lyons, Ben's dad.
That was really fun and magical. If you don't even like the Oscars, you enjoyed the second screen experience of Adnan Virk and David Sampson, knowing a lot about the movies, knowing a lot about the categories, and our show bouncing off of them. But during that, I very lovingly brought popcorn. A few of you, I think Mike Ryan's the only one to have had the popcorn before Sunday, or have any of you others ever had the very proud LeBatard recipe gourmet popcorn? Or is Mike Ryan the only one to have ever had it around here?
It makes me think about the pandemic and a lot of people, because today's the day after. It's the 4-year anniversary of George Sedano calling for the indefinite suspension of Rudy Gobert. A lot of people are getting all nostalgic about the lockdown. And, yeah, that's one of the lockdown memories that I have, is having the popcorn, which I thought was very good.
But Lucy tried it and said it's weird, and then ate 3 buckets of it. And yesterday on the show, Jessica and others, I believe, alleged that the popcorn wasn't actually that good. And so I had no one here to defend it because Billy hadn't been here, Stugotz hadn't been here, and it seemed like Jessica...
Is that why you texted us on the side to defend the popcorn's honor? Because you get weird when it comes to this popcorn. Here's a prime example of how Dan gets emotional when it comes to his popcorn. His honest-to-God visceral reaction to Lucy's initial criticism was, it tastes a little weird. He just fires back, "You're weird! You're weird!"
You're weird not to like my popcorn.
And she is. And I wish, looking back on it, I hadn't. I wish I had said "You're weird, Iowa," instead of saying her whole name.
I mean, if there's something that Iowa people know, it's corn.
I'm not saying this because Dan texted
Wait a
me
minute,
to say
but
this,
wait a minute.
but
No,
I
no,
enjoyed
no,
the
no.
popcorn.
Wait a minute. I'm going to look at what I texted you all.
It's the best popcorn
This
I've ever
popcorn is
had.
so delicious.
Many are saying
so much
it's
time
the greatest
and
popcorn.
hard work was put into this popcorn. I
wanna try
love.
it.
Okay, so it's
I
right
love
here,
it.
but it's
Hints
stale.
of coconut
It's
and
stale.
days old, man.
It's 2 days old, Greg.
Yeah.
So I think it's stale. But I just want, for the record,
You could probably sell that.
because
I like stale popcorn.
because
I'll buy it from you right now.
Many people have offered to buy this popcorn recipe from the Le Batard family,
Patent
but
pending.
they would never sell it.
Mm-hmm.
Lucky for us.
being misrepresented here is trying to taint the
Do
jury.
you need a
pool.
lawyer, Dan? I can step in for you if you need one.
What I wrote to Tony, Mike, and Chris Cody yesterday is the popcorn was blasphemed and disrespected today, so stake your positions.
I am also here to tell you that
No
that
pressure
is in
there.
no way a threat coming from one of the co-founders of the company.
It wasn't a threat. I want honest appraisals of what the
Your
popcorn
job
was.
is not on the line, but reviews are coming.
If
next week.
anyone's job was ever on the line around here, a whole lot of people would have been fired long before now.
That feels very threatening.
I thought the popcorn
I
was
mean, you
great.
realize how this
Yeah,
is
I
coming
thought the
off.
popcorn was
I
awesome.
like the popcorn, but, things are subjective. It's okay if people don't like your popcorn. Dan, you are so confident in your tremendous popcorn. You don't have to worry about it. Not every single person is going to like
it. Only matters
everything.
if you like it.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Everybody has different tastes.
Yep. Greg, what do you think?
Greg Cody has now eaten the 2-day-old stale popcorn that has been on the desk here. And what Greg Cody's not afraid of me. He's not afraid of my threats. My threats are
Be careful,
empty
you're
and
kind of on the chopping
blustery.
block.
He's afraid of AI.
Yeah, yes, I am. It's actually for stale popcorn. It's tasty. What's the secret recipe?
No, I'm not giving that
Okay,
up.
I don't find like it's that difficult to make great popcorn if we're being honest. And I don't mean that as a criticism. I'm sure yours is above average.
I'll do a popcorn. I'll do a popcorn off with
let's do it.
I'll do.
You really had to drag that one out of him.
I'll do it.
I mean, I'm ready. I lost to Bellamy, who made a turkey.
Oh, yeah, you guys turked each other off at one time.
Yeah.
I'm on the comeback trail.
Can't wait to see you two popping each other.
Pop off.
I have in front of me, and I don't think this is a good idea. It wasn't well executed the last time we tried it, Stugotz. They now have gone to artificial intelligence and actually produced a back in my day using whether it's Chat GPT or one of the artificial intelligences. But when we've tried this before, it hasn't worked. It's not as good as the lazy one that Greg Cote doesn't do every week.
Thank you.
The artificial
Free agency.
artificial intelligence hasn't gotten any better over the last 2 months.
Oh, yes, it has.
From what I'm looking at here.
Oh, really? Because whenever we ask it to write a back in my day, that's all data. It is learning from its previous mistakes. So the more that you ask it to make these back in my days, the better it's going to be.
Do you want me to try and read some of this? Because
Let's have you make your popcorn, Greg make his popcorn, and AI make a popcorn.
I like that.
Wow.
Dan, is your popcorn base like? Is it just corn you put in a thing, or do you like old Oracle?
I use
Redenbacher?
abuela's cazuela, and that's the only thing I'm giving you.
Really?
Guys.
Where do you get the corn from?
And I'm not giving you any more information.
Oh.
It's a
Look,
secret
it's just-
ingredient.
it's just us talking now.
No,
It's
I don't trust you guys.
It's just us.
You're weird.
It's interesting.
Coconut oil. Right?
Still eating it.
Put
Huh?
some coconut
Not
oil.
bad.
Ah, the world before AI, you ask?
Well, shouldn't we give it the whole
Right, the whole-
treatment?
the
Let's
open,
have Greg
everything.
read it because,
You're reading
of
it?
course, I can tell it's not a Greg back in
It's
my day
you,
if it's
yeah.
you reading it.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead and give me the music.
And now it is time to take a trip down memory lane. Here's your guy, Greg Cody, with Back in My Day.
I'm only giving you half of it because I don't think you're going to last the entire one here. I don't think we're going to make it to the end
He's
of
a morning
this
man.
without bailing on it. Thank you, Billy.
AI! The world before AI, you ask. Let me tell you, it was different. A different time, different era altogether. Back then, we had to rely on our own wit, hard work, and a hefty dose of luck to get by. There were no virtual assistants to schedule our days, no algorithms to predict what we'd like to eat for dinner or what movie we'd enjoy on a Friday night. We actually had to talk to people, face to face. Can you imagine? And books. Oh, we read those made of real paper. We turned pages, not swiped screens. I remember when a calculator was the fanciest piece of technology in a classroom. If you wanted to know something, you had to look it up in an encyclopedia. No, not online, in a real book. Sometimes in volumes so heavy, you needed 2 hands to lift them. And we were better for it, I tell you.
Hold on a minute.
Hold up.
Good
It's all
work,
right. I
Chris
mean,
Cody.
it's the same pod.
The NFL news,
That's
it never
not
stops,
disrespectful to
Dano.
your dad at all,
We'll
Chris.
get back to you, Greg, but Adam Schefter is reporting Shaq Barrett, 1-year deal with the Dolphins, $9 million.
Good deal.
Yeah.
All right. a lot of
19
money.
and a half sacks 1 year. Back to you, Greg.
We remembered things. Our brains were sharper, filled with all sorts of facts.
Chris,
Not
it
like
needs
the
music. Hold on, Chris. It needs music. You shit
Put
yourself.
it up. Put it up.
I have to restart that bed, so just go ahead, Dad.
I love Mike
No.
watching him and laughing.
No, Chris. No. It
got it,
needs
Chris.
music.
You got
With
it.
Back
There
in My
it
Day.
is.
You got to start over?
hell no.
No, please.
Not like the sieve-like minds of today that forget information as soon as the screen goes black. Socializing, too, was a whole different ballgame. If you wanted to see a friend, you didn't send a text. You walked over to their house and knocked on their door. Surprised them even. Conversations happened in person over a cup of coffee, not through the cold, emotionless text on a screen. And we had to navigate the city using maps, actual printed maps, mind you. Getting lost was part of the adventure, not something to be avoided at all costs with real-time GPS tracking and work. We did that with our hands and minds, not by telling a machine what to do and watching it execute tasks flawlessly, making human error seem like a quaint,
It really doesn't work.
old-fashioned
It really
concept.
doesn't work. He can't be replaced yet by the
that concludes
computers.
Back in My
It
Day.
doesn't work.
Yeah.
Doesn't work. You need a couple of jokes.
I'm Greg Robot, and that's how it was back in my day.
That's funny.
That's what needs a human touch. And I'm Greg Robot is what you need. When you don't have a top 5 list of athlete names who can own magic, but you
Magic
can go
tricks.
but you can go to the Greg Robot. When you got that in your holster at any point, I'm Greg Robot.
There's what I was looking for. All right, nailed it.
Excellent timing. I am scared to ask a room full of sausage the following question. Shannon Sharp on Russell Wilson. He was talking to Stephen A. Smith, and he says, quote, he's on the market. No matter how fine a chick is, no matter how many Birkin bags or Chanel purses she has, if she's on the market, what does that tell you? And Stephen A. Smith were talking about that with Shannon Sharp, and I couldn't help but laugh at the fact that I think, pretty sure, that Shannon Sharp and Stephen A. Smith are both single, and I'm pretty sure Shannon Sharp has a whole lot of good bags.
I don't understand what's happening because Russell Wilson did sign with the Steelers.
Right.
But he was just talking about the
Why is he
indictment. He was
available?
talking about the indictment
Okay.
of Russell Wilson. It was a couple of days ago. He was talking about the indictment of Russell Wilson as a quarterback because
We have video of it apparently, so we can have Shannon speak for himself. Oh wait, is that's a different
another
show?
Yeah.
Sorry
It's
about
just
that.
Speak now.
Is it?
Yeah, Joy hosts.
You all right?
What's going
What's going on here?
Why are we laughing?
It's just Speak
Yeah,
now?
it's just called Speak with an exclamation mark.
Yeah, speak.
I think.
Better speak. It's Al Pacino. Why Al Pacino really just limped into Oppenheimer too? That's a perfect time to turn. Speak.
Apparently, he didn't make a mistake.
No, he says that that's what the producers wanted. But, I mean, a lot of people were getting off the joke. It was funny, right? If you're 83 years old and have a baby running around, you can't be trusted to speak in front of people. You're tired, no matter how much help you've got. 83.
I owe Joy an apology. There's no exclamation mark. It's just Speak.
Speak.
Get Up used to have an exclamation mark, and then it removed the exclamation mark.
Who got the exclamation point? Where is it now? Does Fox have it? Or
I
does
think E
ESPN
still
have
has it.
E?
Yeah.
Oh,
He
yeah.
owns it.
He
Yeah,
does
he
have
owns
it.
it.
Yeah.
He owns it.
He owns
Yeah.
the exclamation.
E.
Now it's just get up.
Get up. No urgency, though.
Who has the so wait a minute.
Who
Get
won?
up.
E.
Who won?
Get up. Get up. Had
Also, have
the-
you noticed that the Miami Heat, whenever they have their press releases, Heat is always all caps.
I know, I hate
the way
that.
that they pronounce it. So it's the Miami Heat.
Why do you hate that?
It's just because it's illogical. It doesn't make any sense.
Get Up had an exclamation point. Where did it go?
E.
I know sports are changing fast. The world is changing fast. It's not just artificial intelligence. We are talking about silly things all the time as the skies fill with fire. But are sports moving so fast that Mookie Betts can become a shortstop? And my analysis, without having read any of that, because one of the most amazing things of my baseball lifetime is that Craig Biggio could play catcher and second base. That Mookie Betts could be so great at baseball that he could be second base, outfield, or shortstop. Is that because Mookie Betts is just that great? Or has the sport changed so much and the Dodgers have so much firepower on offense that it doesn't matter who their shortstop is because everyone's trying to hit the ball over the fence and Mookie Betts will be good enough? Like, I have not read a word about this. I simply didn't understand how Mookie Betts can be a shortstop when I imagine that to be a very difficult position to play. It's the last one on the field outside of catcher that I would want to play.
Now, I'm wading back into baseball waters this year, but the last time I paid attention to it, I'm pretty sure Mookie Betts came up, man in the hot corner. Yeah. He was a third baseman.
He was a third baseman, yeah.
Right.
Seeing he was
had
a
some
short,
experience.
and he was a shortstop in high school,
I mean, that was wild.
as most major leaguers probably were.
Yeah.
Right.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at LeBatard Show. Were most major leaguers the shortstop in high school?
Crucky was not.
I'm surprised we don't see more of that, honestly, because athleticism is athleticism. It's like the Marlins say, hey, Jazz Chisholm, you're fast, you're athletic. Play center field. You'll do fine. We'll instruct you. You'll have a spring training to learn it. You're a center
So
fielder
you guys are
now.
unaffected by this. So one of the best baseball players we've ever seen is just flip-flopping around hardest positions on the diamond, and you guys are just shrug your shoulders on it?
I'm not unaffected by it because I looked at their lineup and I recognize a lot of names, which is pretty concerning for the rest of Major League Baseball if I know all these guys. But no, of what I do know Mookie Betts quite a bit, and I'm familiar with his game, and I don't. While I know it's a very difficult position to play, and you mentioned Jazz Chisholm, that's still not without its growing pains. I'm more interested in Dave Roberts' explanation of it, which is it's a permanent for now move. Yeah. Never really heard something referred to as that.
But fair to say this would be a bigger story in July?
I mean, it is March. We could use this now.
No, we have NFL free agency. I mean,
Winners and losers, which we have not gotten to yet. Stugotz,
in July, he would be switching position in the middle of a season. Which would be
yes,
odd.
but I would just start paying attention to baseball in July.
Would be
and
a
then
big story, too,
Right.
middle of the
You
season.
turn on the TV the
Stugotz.
first time the Dodgers are playing. There's Mookie at shortstop.
You're
training camps,
not paying,
NFL training camps are opening.
You're not paying any attention
to baseball.
Hot dog eating
any
contest
baseball.
also.
I saw you play the other day.
Free agency.
Who that is, and you didn't know that the Rangers had won the World Series.
Huh.
You're not going to pay any attention to baseball.
Nope.
You're done with baseball. The Mets spend all the money in the world, and it hasn't gotten your attention in baseball. You're finished. You should
They
just
spent all the money in the world and they've lost.
You should announce that you're done with baseball.
No,
you should
I'm
have
not going to make that announcement.
You should
yet.
have a press
check back in
conference.
67 games into the Mets season.
But
I'll let
you've already checked out on baseball.
Oh, I mean, yeah.
It's
football season.
Well, let's get to winners and losers. You have yesterday. This is the last 24 hours. Is any of this subject to change, or these are final determinations? You have not been this excited about anything in sports in a while, since Joe Mauer made it into the Hall of Fame.
These are the top 5 winners and losers from day one of free agency. It was the first ballot part of it that upset me, okay? I mean, he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's not. Joe Mauer, 0 for 10 in playoff games. I mean, the 4th best player on a team where he won the MVP. Michael Kadire had a better season. Mauer.
Is Kirk Cousins a Hall of Famer? Is he a $330 million player? He's won one playoff game.
I mean, Greg thinks he's a Hall of Famer based on the numbers. Billy thinks he's a
Asinine.
first ballot Hall of Famer.
No, falsehoods.
Asinine, both of you.
Pre-injury.
Asinine.
I'm extrapolating the 5 good years he has left.
Truly asinine, assuming that there will be 4 more good
Coming
years
off an Achilles tear,
in Atlanta.
7
That's
weeks
right.
ago.
That's right. Just unbelievable that guy with one playoff win would be able to suck at the teat of what the billions are the NFL produces to be. It's a hard position to play, and he plays it mediocrely well. He plays it mediocrely well.
Yep.
Nice word.
Do you have
I have
losers or winners first?
I want you to go winners, losers, winners, losers. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so
All right.
number 5 winner is
WFAN. For getting a week's worth of conversation in early March where they get to rip Saquon Barkley for being a traitor.
It is fairly amazing that adults are doing this. Or is it not? Dead to me as an insult.
That Tiki's doing
in
it.
2024, you're dead to me.
Mm-hmm.
You're like you're dead to me. What is that?
And you got to hit him with
What is that?
Sopranos.
What is that?
Tony Soprano.
What is that as an insult? In 2024, you're dead to me from another adult. For going to the Eagles. Loser, number 5.
The listeners of WFAN. For having to endure that insane conversation for an entire week.
But it always hooks you in, though.
Oh, it does.
Conversation
for an hour.
you would love to be taking part in.
Yeah, taking calls.
Number 4 winner.
Running backs.
Yeah.
Because some teams still think running backs have value.
Unless you've co-hosted God Bless Football occasionally, then
You're laughing in the face of Ekeler?
That's all right. He gets it.
Does
East
he?
Coast now, though.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's big for you.
Yes, very big. Maybe I'll actually see him. I'll go meet him one time.
Number 4.
All the teams that sign running backs to big contracts thinking they still have value.
Okay, this is confusing.
I'm looking at you, Chicago.
So it's everyone. That's the number 4 loser is the same as the number 4 winner. This
Yeah,
is okay.
yeah,
Is this
perhaps,
It's a
yeah.
good theme. Number 3 winner.
Sam Darnold. Parlayed being a bust into the best job in sports, backup quarterback for $10 million a season.
I feel like I'm following this game. I bet I can guess the loser.
Huh.
Number 3 loser.
The Vikings. For signing Sam Darnold.
Wait a second.
It is. It's what happened yesterday. There's a whole lot of noise, and that's what happened yesterday. The Chiefs are still the champions. Number 2.
The Jets. For finally not winning the first day of free agency.
That's a number 2 winner. So the number 2 loser is
The Jets. For not winning the first day of free agency.
It's a good list.
Thank you.
It's a good list. Number 1 winner.
Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins, the last time we saw him, he was losing a playoff game at home to Daniel Jones. He parlayed that and one playoff win into, and he's the greatest businessman in the history of the NFL, into a $180 million contract at the age of 36 off an Achilles tear because he tweeted out a picture of himself on a tennis court.
Chase Daniel would like a word.
Put it on the poll, please. Greatest businessman in the NFL, Jerry Jones or Kirk Cousins? And the number one loser in the NFL yesterday?
The Falcons.
That's $5.
For signing Kirk Cousins at 36 years of age off an Achilles, who was 1-4 in the playoffs and 0 forever in primetime games.
Atlanta didn't want Lamar Jackson and Bill Belichick. Just going to put that out there.
He's 36. What are the Falcons
Interviewed
doing?
Belichick
Just going to
twice.
put that out there. Didn't interview Belichick twice. No, don't need him. Let's get Kirk Cousins. Don't want Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, crazy.
That's a thing that happened in a professional football league worth billions of dollars.
So your quarterback is 40 coming off of an Achilles, and you're excited about
Oh, I
next
know.
season.
No, I know. I mean, but they're also number 2 on my losers.
Had a bigger
list.
cap number.
Right. I mean, the Jets are winners. I mean, just, hoping Aaron
T-Mobile
gets-
backing up Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I don't like that. I mean,
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't think Aaron likes that because T-Mobile is one of those guys, if he gets in there, he can give you 2 games and all of a sudden the fans are chanting, Tyrod, Tyrod. I don't like it. Yeah.
He needs bad support like Zach Wilson after Woody Johnson said we didn't have a backup quarterback all of last year. We're going to get one this year. That's the Jets' motto right there, by the way. Yeah, we're going to win the backup quarterback. You watch. It's not going to be Zach Wilson anymore. You're going to complain about Tyrod Taylor next year when Aaron Rodgers gets injured on the first play.
Who was that guy that was terrible that went to Connecticut who was also terrible? Do you remember his name?
The guy that threw the Fail Mary?
The guy who played against the Dolphins late in the
what
season.
was that guy's name?
You know what? I was arguing. I remember the fisticuffs that nearly started. Was it Boyle? Was his name Boyle?
Tim Boyle?
Tim Boyle.
Yeah.
Because I remember having the argument, would Tim Boyle start for the University of Miami last season?
I remember Chris Cody being worried about the mystery of Tim Boyle.
Yes, that's right.
What a time.
It was good.
That was in November, by the way.
You were right to fear for the Dolphins. Everything collapsed after that. It just wouldn't be Tim Boyle to do it to you.
I'm not so sure. I'm still unsure about those dog legs, too.
Greg Cody's mad, I think, about what happened with the Dolphins today in the last couple of days.
They got Shaq Barrett.
Well, I'm disappointed for Dolphins fans when you lose Christian Wilkins. I mean, you mentioned it earlier. I don't think you can overestimate his value to that defense coming off his best season.
I just don't get it.
prime.
What's the point of rebuilding, hitting on your number one pick, and then getting rid of him immediately because you got to pay the quarterback? Like, what's the point of that?
Well, it's not just the quarterback. They got to pay Jalen Waddle next year, Javon Holland. They just made the decision. If you look how the Dolphins spend money, they tend to do it on the skill position guys. They're just saying, like, I don't think they wanted to lose Christian Wilkins. It's just they got to do math, and they have to make some cuts. They have so much talent. The people want to criticize Chris Greer. There's a lot of people that need to get paid on this team right now, and they just made the business decision. And looking at what Wilkins got, like, I think the mistake was not paying him a year ago for like 21 or 22 million. 27 mil is ridiculous.
No, this is what they were doing, and you can speak to this, Greg, like how it is the math of this works. They were negotiating all of last year, and the defensive tackle who took the money is the one who got the money. These guys are best friends. Like, if you were watching Hard Knocks, it was moving to see their relationships, and they made best friends choose between who wants the money. The undrafted guy who's a lovable story, who's doing a good job, who I believe is good because of what Wilkins does, because Wilkins is the first-round talent. Wilkins is the obvious run stuffer. He's not Aaron Donald, but what that dude did, what I saw him do, made that defense good. That guy gave you edge rush. That guy was caving in defense.
Yes. Yeah, I think Wilkins was their most valuable defender last year, particularly with Ramsey not playing the entire season. And it's just that when you look league-wide, the biggest losses in free agency, considering the top free agent overall was Chris Jones, who the Chiefs were able to re-sign. The biggest loss of any team in free agency right now is Christian Wilkins, for me.
The biggest one.
Yeah. Yeah. Name a bigger one.
This is the new and unimproved Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugots. Gamble on by DraftKings.
I love good incentives.
I do love that, too. It seems like $8 million seems to be the number for every running back except Austin Ekeler.
And Saquon Barkley.
Barkley got a little more, but it just seems like I just can't believe Ekeler couldn't say to his agent, "Hey, I'm with those guys. Maybe I didn't have a great year last year, but I can't believe Ekeler didn't get $8 million for where
Billy,
he went."
you're the closest to Ekeler of anybody.
What?
You're the closest to Ekeler of anybody.
I want to talk to you about something else.
Okay.
I saw this last week, and I thought of you immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Jeremy Taché spoke to Nick Gordon, Miami Marlins.
Oh, yeah,
Brother of D. Gordon.
Yes.
No moon, he said, or something?
Yeah, he doesn't believe the moon is real.
He said the moon isn't real. And then he followed up. He said, what do you mean? He said the moon, the whole moon. The earth and the moon, gravitational pull. The moon's way too close, bro. It's way too close. Sometimes you go outside, you look up at night, and you will not see the moon sometimes. You got to see the sun or the moon. So
Sometimes
direct quote.
Sometimes you see the moon in the daytime.
Yeah.
Well, this seems like your kind of guy because you like these theories.
I do like.
I feel like
out
you,
of the box thinkers.
I feel like if I were to press you, I could get you on the moon landing not being real, but I'm not sure about the moon not being real.
No, the moon is 100% real, right?
Made of cheese?
You're willing to go out there?
I'm willing to go out there and say the moon is 100% real. How do you explain the tides? How do you explain certain things?
Well, how do you explain the moon affecting the tides?
The gravitational pull. I don't know how that works. Again, I failed out of sciences. Math and sciences were not really my strong suit, so I just kind of take your word for it. But
well, isn't our gravitational pull around the sun, and the moon has like our gravitational pull?
Correct.
Right?
It's like a
No?
subset of gravitational pulls.
Got it.
That keep everything in place. But if you press me on the moon landing, now we're talking a little bit something different.
Well, what do you think happened?
What do I think happened? I think, as far as the moon landing is concerned,
Yeah.
I think that there is a plausible deniability, okay, that you can look and say, look, the United States was in a space race with Russia. They didn't want the Soviets up there. What was going on? So it feels like the Soviets were doing a lot of work trying to get the cosmonauts up into the atmosphere, into the moon and all that. The United States was like, you know what? We got to win this. Let's just fake it, say that we did it, stage it, right, in a movie set, and then send it out there. The Russians won't believe the difference. It's like it was original AI. Essentially what we're talking about is the United States government did the original first AI against the Russians.
So did they go into space?
Yeah, the cosmonauts were in space,
And what
beforehand.
Well, no, like
Because they had never gone to the moon,
no,
right?
like
that was
Apollo
their issue.
11,
Right.
that went and landed on the moon.
Right.
Did they go into space?
Yeah, they were in space into the moon. That's what they say.
What? No, I'm asking you. What happened with them? Did they go into space, and then they went around the room,
orbited
the moon like other Apollo
if it was
missions?
in the hypothetical of the story of the moon landing was staged, yeah,
no,
they
this
shot
is
a
your story. What
No.
happened?
I don't know what happened. I wasn't there.
What are you saying happened?
I'm saying that there is a plausible deniability that the moon landing.
No, you
was
said no. You said that there was a race to the moon with
There
the
was.
Soviet Union.
There was.
And that they landed. They did a set where they faked it. So I'm
it's
asking
where Jared
you,
Leto lives, by the way.
What?
Where Jared Leto lives right now
Is where they staged
is
the
where
moon
they staged
landing?
the moon landing.
How do you know that?
Look it up. Look up where Jared Leto lives.
I'm
I'm
on it.
forgetting the name of the place, but
He lives in a movie studio?
he lives in like this weird ranch that has movie studios that the government would conduct like videos in that movie
Lookout
studio.
Mountain Air Force Station
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, but back to
is a formerly used defense
Look,
site.
we're putting
which
it on
is-
the screen right
which
now.
is today a private residence of actor Jared Leto.
Uh-huh.
so that's where they faked the moon
That's
landing.
where they presumably faked the moon landing right there.
But did they send the astronauts into space?
Yes, they did.
And then they just went around the moon and came back, and then they had actors portraying them?
Correct. Because, I mean, they were in the spacesuits.
Did they voice the things before they left? Because they're radioing back.
They could be voicing it from...
So they're watching it live from space? Like there's a satellite transmitting what's happening here on Earth at Jared Leto's house up to the moon. And then they're doing like play-by-play in like 1969 or whatever, and then it's on delay, and then that's
Gotcha,
being
right. No, I see what you're
rebroadcast
saying
back
now.
to Earth?
No, I don't think that's what happened.
Oh, okay.
But here's the thing, right? This is why I say plausible deniability, because Buzz Aldrin, Neil Armstrong, all these people that said they went to the moon say they went to the moon.
Yeah. Are they all lying?
That's
They're all
the thing.
in
It would be
together?
a huge cover-up for them to all be lying together saying that they didn't make it to the moon. That's what I'm saying. I don't know.
Would you rather have Gabe Davis at $13 million a year or Michael Pittman just under $24 million a year? I felt like Pittman was one of the more overpaid guys. Am I sleeping on him? I know he's a solid. Is he a number one?
He's
option?
like a fringe 1-2.
That's why,
like he'd be better as a 2, I think.
Do you think we'll ever be able to like habitate the moon?
Inhabit the moon?
Yeah. Like have
I think
like,
we have trouble with the moon, right? And I think Mars is a better option because
Why?
The moon doesn't have the characteristics similar to Earth that we need, right? We need water, we need a usable atmosphere. Apparently the moon doesn't have that, right? Which is why we've been trying to figure out, is that something that we can do, or is it just dirt and dust in the middle of space? And that's kind of what it is. Mars has had evidence that's shown water at one point. We don't know when, but it would feel like it would be more inhabitable at Mars. The thing is, it takes us longer to get there. And imagine space travel and then bringing materials over there to build stuff. It just takes a long time.
Andrew Van Ginkel will make more this upcoming season than Derrick Henry and Tony Pollard.
Damn.
Would you live on Mars? If they
Have you
figured
seen
it
The
out?
Martian with Matt Damon?
No.
It's kind of like, what's the show that you were watching that Paul Pierce was on?
Stars on Mars.
Stars on Mars.
Yeah.
It's like that, but like more dramatic.
Oh.
Mars seems really hard to live on.
Yeah. Well, that's why presumably.
How about this?
No
Think
one
about
does,
this, Billy.
Right?
So back in the day, we're talking thousands of years ago, right?
If
Ancient
time travel
Greece.
existed, though, wouldn't we already be on Mars?
Pittman did have 1,000 yards with Minshew.
Yes.
To Pittman?
Yeah, I know. I said that poorly.
Yes. No. Yes to him, but yes to you. The thing is, time travel's tough, right? Because we have people going from in the future to the past. So you're saying that there's people on Mars right now that are there going from the future to the past in Mars?
If time travel exists and someone can travel back to the past, then they've already been on Mars.
Presumably, maybe.
Thanks, something to ponder. Put that in your file.